Hi everybody, welcome to the 13th episode in the Vassals of Kingsgrave epic magisterial Take No Prisoners Song of Ice and Fire linear reread. This is Bina 007. I'll be your host for this evening. We also have a whole bunch of OG original gangster vassals. So welcome to Tanja.
Hi, I'm Scilens on the forums.
Welcome to Adam.
Adam, also known as DrownedSnow on the forums.
Patrick.
Greetings, it is Sir Patrick the Troll on the forums, Patrick in real life.
From north of the wall we have Matt.
Why am I north of the wall?
Because isn't it like freezing so hard where you are that you've got icicles on your balls?
No, it's 55 degrees and I'm outside.
55 degrees is really hot.
Way to just roll with it, Matt.
Well, it's Fahrenheit, not Celsius.
He just bitches all the time on Skype chat about how cold it is where he lives. So.
Well, last weekend it was fucking like negative 35 wind chill, so yeah. Welcome to New England weather.
Okay, so that's Matt. Over to you, Nadia.
Hello everyone, this is Nadia.
And Statler to my Waldorf, we have Brett.
Yeah, Whiteraven on the forums.
And then we have everyone's favourite noob, it's Noah.
Nice. Hey, Noah Potts 88 on the forums.
Awesome balls. So this is the first week of January 299. So this is going to be another month where there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens in Game of Thrones, and it's all going to happen very quickly as we reach the end of the book. And I've got a feeling this is the last episode where all the chapters are actually from Game of Thrones, because next episode is going to have some Clash of Kings. So yeah, we've galloped through this stuff. So at the end of episode 12, which I believe Claudius the Fool is still editing, we ended on a subtle dig.
When this comes out, you're going to be saying that in it as it comes out, and then 12 will come out after this one.
Like an hour later.
So we skip back from Dany 7 to Jon 8. So basically, the other thing to note is, although this is a linear reread, in this set of chapters, they pretty much fall consecutively. So I believe it's over to Scilens.
Okay. So which chapter is this? Jon 8, isn't it? Yeah. So in Jon 8, Mormont comes to check on Jon to see if he has recovered from the traumatic event of seeing him naked in the last chapter. We learn that Jon has been having nightmares, and I'm quoting, "In the dream, the corpse he fought had blue eyes, black hands, and his father's face, but he dared not tell Mormont that. Is this a prophecy? Might be, because Jon is a prophet, or not." Yeah, and Mormont tells Jon that there's no news of Benjen, with Jon Mormont tells Jon that there's no news of Benjen, which Jon already knows because he's a prophet, or maybe because someone told him. Mormont is annoyed at how gossipy everyone at the wall is. He also tells Jon that Barristan was removed from the Kingsguard and charged with treason. Jon is upset that Mormont doesn't tell him about Robb marching to war, even though he already knows it from Sam anyway, so he could just get over it, but I guess not. Mormont gives Longclaw to Jon. Of course, he could have kept it in the family and given it to one of the kick-ass ladies of House Mormont, but it just makes so much more sense to take it to the wall and let it rot there till some bastard comes along that he can give it to, because it's a bastard sword, so he has to give it to a bastard. Yeah, of course. Mormont tells Jon that he doesn't want him to thank him, which Jon probably wouldn't have done anyway, because instead of being grateful for it, he's being a whiny little bitch about it just being some random Valyrian steel sword and not ice.
Nice.
But, I'm quoting here, yet he could scarcely tell Mormont that it was another man's sword he dreamt of. Mormont also tells Jon that he sent Alistair Thorne to King's Landing with the white severed hand. Jon leaves the tower and runs into his friends, who already know that he was going to get the sword because Mormont was right about them being gossipy. He's rude to his friends because he can't cope with them being cheerful, because they can't read his mind and don't know that he's upset about all sorts of things. Then he meets Sam, who tells him that Aemon wants to see him, to which Jon responds by getting angry at Sam and pointing out that Aemon is blind, just in case Sam hadn't noticed it. Aemon talks about birds, and Jon mentions that Sam told him that the wildlings call the Night's Watch crows, which, by the way, is what Mormont just did 2 pages earlier. But that doesn't seem to bother Jon, probably because he doesn't give a shit about birds and just wants Aemon to get the point. Which is that Aemon explains that the men of the Night's Watch don't take wives and don't father children, so they don't love anyone, because that gets in the way of honor and duty, which Jon thinks is bullshit. Aemon asks Jon what Ned would do if he had to choose between honor and his loved ones, to which Jon wisely replies that he'd do whatever is right. Aemon tells Jon that the men of the Night's Watch take no part in any battles that happen in the realm, and tells him of example in history where they didn't interfere with what was going on. Jon, who has so much more life experience than some random old guy who knows nothing about anything, tells Aemon that he knows nothing about how difficult it is to make this choice. And then Aemon reveals that he's a Targaryen and that he had to choose several times whether to stay at the Night's Watch or not. And then Jon shuts the fuck up.
It's so amazing and moving, Tanya. Your evident love and admiration for Jon really came across with
these are
that.
my favorite chapters.
That was a great recap, but like everything I had written down, she hit it.
He's just so whiny. God. Like he gets this Valyrian steel sword, and instead of thinking this is super awesome, he's like, "Oh God, I didn't want that shit." Like this is
I've got a pain in the dias up my left side.
I want another man's sword.
Yeah,
Gross.
it's
Like,
kind of gay.
Seriously, I love this chapter. I love because of the reveal of who Maester Aemon really is.
No, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I really like that.
I like any part with Aemon in it. I just love
I
Aemon.
know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One good thing.
It's
Well,
too bad
that's when
Jon's
Jon-
always there.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Oh boy.
It's really beautifully
So-
written as well. George always gives Eamon the best words, like when he says, "What is honour compared to a woman's love? What is duty against the feel of a newborn son in your arms, or the memory of a brother's smile?"
And
So
then Jon is like,
beautiful.
I don't think that's right, because I know better.
At this point, I was thinking, everyone, all of the Stark siblings seem to have this memory of Robb. I think Jon and Sansa both specifically remember him standing in the courtyard with snowflakes melting in his hair.
Yeah, so does Arya, I think.
Yeah, exactly. It's very like there's this repeated scene of him. Just
So, do you think
Amazing.
Mormont was like pissed at like the gossipy wall because he came out naked and was like, "It's fucking cold." Like, I'm a grower.
That's why it wasn't the sword he wanted. My dad's sword is bigger.
Yeah.
I wonder how Jorah would feel about the ancestral family sword going to the son of Ned Stark.
like giving it to the bastard son of Ned is not as big of a deal maybe as him being like, "Oh, you took it to the wall with you?" Like
But he
that
didn't
might be
though. Mage gave it to him for
It's
safety.
not
Why
in the
didn't he?
family
Why didn't he say,
anymore.
"Oh, I don't want this. You keep it"?
You should
'cause
keep
we're
it?
all
Yeah, he
squatter."
shoulda.
Like,
Yeah.
he just takes it. He's like, "I don't want this, but you can't have it because you're a girl." Like,
No, they brought it back to him.
Was the idea that he would hold on to it, and then if whenever their house was secure again, he'd send it back to them, or
Why is their house not secure?
well, I mean, because
Yeah,
they
she
don't have a male
hasn't.
heir, like
But Daisy is the heir. It's very clear, you know.
Yeah.
That's
She
there.
was given a
But
mace
Daisy is
before a doll.
Sansa's heir.
Yeah,
I know.
I got that in my
seems,
chapter.
It just seems weird that he would take it, like I don't know.
yeah. And
It
if
just
he
seems
doesn't want
like
it,
it's such a
yeah.
value thing. Yeah, he doesn't even want it, and then he's just like, "Oh, yeah, here, have this, John." Like,
Yeah, I found it in my room after everything was burned. I forgot it was even there.
yeah, this was a priceless heirloom at one point,
Yeah.
but I really
you clearly,
hate my house.
you clearly cared about this. So.
George really wanted Jon to have the sword.
Bears, dire wolves, claws. It's close
Yeah.
enough.
This is kind of a shitty gift because it's something he didn't want anyway. So he's like, "Yeah, you saved my life. You can have this random crap that I didn't want anyway. Thank you."
It's like, why didn't he give it to Benjen, or like?
Yeah. Or
I
to
think-
one of the ladies in his family.
It's
Well,
weird that he
it's-
wouldn't want this sword because it's far more practical than ice would have ever been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, isn't
Especially for
it kind
him.
of like him passing the torch, of leadership almost, maybe
Yeah.
expecting things to go south.
And maybe he wouldn't give it to Benjen because he didn't want it to get lost on a ranging or something.
Yeah, no,
Perhaps
I
if he
wouldn't
had
want
it,
to
it
give
would've
my
been
sword to anyone who's going to use it because that's just silly, right?
He's like, well, look, John's gonna be a steward forever, and then he's gonna be the commander maybe, and he'll
So
just
the sword is safe.
he'll never leave, and the sword is safe. Yeah.
Yeah,
Can
he
we-
goes on a
can-
ranging with John
Yeah, except to go
Yeah.
and
with the
defeat
sword.
He should have been like, can you leave the sword behind so it doesn't get lost?
Just put it up on the wall. It looks really nice.
Yeah. The shield hall.
Can we discuss a bit about, like, at what point does Gio know that he wants to train Jon up for the next Lord Commander? Because think about
When
it,
he
he
makes
hasn't
it
been hasn't been at the wall for very long.
As soon
He-
as Aemon tells him, "This is what you should do," and
Yeah.
he's like, "Oh, okay."
I don't think that he's necessarily saying like John's gonna be the next Lord Commander, but the pool of educated and somewhat honorable people coming up is not very large. So this is somewhat young. He can get him right away, and eventually, like maybe he's thinking, well, maybe he'll command the Shadow Tower, or maybe he'll become First Ranger, or maybe he'll become something else. Not necessarily like we're jumping right to him becoming Lord Commander.
Can you become a ranger if you're a part of the stewards?
I
No.
don't think so.
I think eventually you can switch jobs.
It's not described in the books as a possibility. So I mean,
I don't see why not though. They have so few people. You think they would
Yeah.
just be like, yeah, okay, well, I guess you're the most
Well, because
qualified for this now.
I'm guessing if you get switched, like, oh, they need people at the Shadow Tower, you start moving people around, and they get there and go, oh, well, you're not really best suited for that. Here's a different task. Like,
I
Your
guess if,
stonework is shit. You're no longer a mason.
I guess if
like,
you
what have
lost
you
your
been
hand
doing
or
building? Like, that's terrible.
I guess if you lost your hand or something outranging and you couldn't like fight anymore, you could go in and be in steward or something.
Or a
Or
blacksmith.
a blacksmith. Jinx.
Yeah, you only need one hand for that.
Or command the gold cloaks.
I think it was when he made him a steward, though. That's definitely when he decided, one day you'll lead the watch.
Yeah, I think he sees like, Jon's young, he has a lot to learn, and he can train him and be like a competent leader. And
He's clearly a prophet, and
right.
That's
So if-
useful, isn't it?
Obviously.
If Ned came to the wall, do you think he would have been like, "You're my new steward, Ned.
Right.
I will bring you up and teach you how to be a Lord Commander."
Yeah, if he was 15, 16, but no, not
Not at 30.
not at 30. Like, yeah, hey, can you empty my chamber pot for a few years, and then maybe you'll be ready to lead Ned.
does he take the sword back from Jon and give it to Ned? And he's got a new
Yeah.
favorite now.
Oh, totally.
Anyway,
Does anyone think there's any significance to the fact that apparently Bloodraven is vegetarian, unlike all other ravens?
Bloodraven? You
Is
mean
he
the
vegetarian?
Raven?
Well, I
Well,
mean,
isn't Bloodraven like in the Raven?
Well, nobody
You
knows
think
that.
maybe?
For sure. It's a thought.
Oh, and Whiteraven, do you have any theories for why Jon keeps seeing Ned coming back as a White?
Nope.
One thing to keep in mind is that it says it's his father. So
Yeah.
if
Well, I think
I don't
it
even know
says
if this is
he
like
has
this is
like
two
Ned's
theories I
face.
hate. But does he? The first
yeah,
time he
it's
says it's his father.
specifically Ned. Like he
Oh,
says
damn
it's his
it.
face. Yeah.
That would be weird. It's like, that's my father. They're like,
Oh,
it doesn't
yeah,
look anything
it's
like Ned.
Lord Eddard's
Yeah,
like-
it's my father.
But in my dream,
Yeah.
I knew it was my father, but it
Which
did
is
not look
possible.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You'd be like, this is my house, but it's not really your house. And when you wake up, you're like, why would I ever think that was my house?
yeah. You have dreams like that all the time.
wait a minute, is this a Talking Head song we're talking about?
Say
No?
what?
Talking Heads? No? Alright, I'll
Wait,
shut
what?
up. And the days go by? No?
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. Do you think it has something to do with Winterfell? Because Ned's bones, where are Ned's bones right now? Like, is it prophecy?
Ned's bones don't ever
Ned's
make it
not-
to Fell.
Ned's not dead yet.
Yeah, he's still
Yeah,
in the
they're
crypt.
still in his body.
Yeah. All is still
Hence
right with
the
the world. Ned
term
is alive.
The
prophecy.
dungeons.
But where are Ned's bones by now? Like by the end of where we
By the
currently
end.
are on the books?
They don't
Somewhere
even
in
make
the
it to
neck.
Winterfell, though.
They're in
They
the
end up with
north,
Helen
Somewhere
Reed.
with Howland Reed,
They
probably.
got
Yeah.
sent with Mage and Galbert, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Because what's her name is looking for him.
Yeah.
No,
She wants
no,
to get him and take him.
they get sent with like Cosmolin or something.
It's kind of weird
Right.
they didn't put him on a ship to White Harbor, right?
No, I
guess-
think
I don't-
Mage, Mormont, and Galbert Blower were on their way to the Neck to meet up with Howland Reed, and then go on to Mort Cailin. And the bones went with them, and we have no idea where all those people are.
But that was,
Right.
but didn't when they started out, who controlled Moat Cailin at the time when that plan was hatched?
Yeah, they were on their way up from King's Landing before the Ironborn took Moat Cailin. So I don't know. I guess maybe Howland Reed has him.
Well, no, but I mean, didn't they go straight to like River Run or something, or wherever they were at the time? Like they got the bones, and then they sent them on from there. I thought.
Could
Yeah,
very well
because
be.
doesn't
Yes, they did.
Cat like hold his like skull or something like that? Something weird.
She
No,
did.
she didn't.
Yeah, and they make a note of like where's his sword and.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
So they went to River Run and then they got sent up north. So they're probably like chilling with Howland Reed right now.
Yes, exactly what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
Because Barbary
And-
Dustin wants them bad.
Yeah, she
She
wants to like
wants to
feed them to
desecrate
her
them.
dogs or something.
Yeah, she wants to like shit in his skull and to his dogs.
So is
Because
Howland
she was
Reed
mad
working
at,
on
at the brother, like.
What?
is Howland Reed working on bringing him back as the White then to make Jon's prophecy come true?
I don't know. Maybe it just. I was thinking like, maybe it's
Maybe
just a
to
start
foreshadowing
phase.
Ned's death.
Yeah, I think that's actually it. I think it's just about him being dead.
Could be, but he didn't want to
Also-
tell Mormont that because why would it matter?
And also
Right.
he's dreaming of another man's sword. so he didn't want to talk about the other man, presumably.
Oh my.
Anything else on this chapter? It's
I
kind
don't
of
think so.
cool to know that there are other kind of fearsome female swordsmiths apart from Brienne of Tarth. Kind of sad she didn't get the sword, as I think Tanya eloquently pointed out.
There's another Tarth mentioned here, Andrew Tarth.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably Brienne's uncle.
Oh, I didn't even really think
I don't know if what their relation is. I think doesn't he die soon? In the
Yeah, I'm
race?
just assuming he might be her uncle or someone.
Could be. I wonder why he's at the wall.
Yeah.
Because clearly they don't have a male heir there.
Hmm.
The Ice and Fire.
I think he had like Brienne's father had like a number of sons, but they all just died very young.
Maybe
Brienne
he's a
bumping
really
him off.
distant relative or something.
No, I think one of them like lived to like 7 or 8 or something and then drowned. Or is that just something from a fanfiction I read? I don't know.
Oh boy.
I really can't remember.
All right. Well,
Anything else on this chapter from anyone?
I hate Jon.
I just want to.
Oh my.
It's like to say that Aemon has a really sad life, and I feel bad for him.
Yeah, that's true.
A really long, sad life.
And now he's hanging
Yeah.
out with Jon, so it's certainly not getting any better, is it?
Wait. I was just thinking, Jon was such a snob in this chapter. When he was showing his sword to everyone else, and then he kept thinking, they can't possibly understand what I'm going through right
Because
now.
I'm so much better than them. And also, Aemon has no idea what it means to give up something to be in the Night's Watch. What does this old guy know? I know everything, and no one knows shit. And I'm such a tragic character.
He's like he is like 14 years old or something like that.
Right.
Give him a break.
But you know, if you
Yeah,
can like blame
that's a good
Sansa for being, for taking stupid decisions, you can blame Jon too.
I'm so happy Tanya's on this call.
Me too.
I'm not. I'm miserable because we're talking about Jon.
Why did you volunteer for the Jon chapter, Tanya?
Because she made
wanted
it
to bring
better.
the hate.
Because it has Master Aemon in it.
I needed everyone to know how terrible this chapter is, just like all Jon chapters and stuff.
Before we leave this chapter, can I ask, do you guys, I find it weird that as Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, Mormont, he just seems really naive the way he thinks he's going to send this weird frozen hand to the south, and suddenly everyone who's always ignored him in King's Landing is going to think, oh shit, batshit crazy stuff is happening at the wall, send this man troops and money.
I think it's worth
Well,
trying. I don't think
it's
this is
definitely-
necessarily stupid. And it's not like they're giving up that much. It's not like they
Nope.
eat that hand for anything else right now, I guess.
Well, it works. They get rid of Alistair Thorne.
And they were
That's
sort
also-
of he sort of
Yeah.
had his hopes set on Barristan Selmy, and he's been dismissed, which is why he's so disappointed.
A moving severed hand, though, that wouldn't turn you guys around.
That would
Yeah, I mean,
freak
it
me
freaks,
the fuck
it
out.
totally freaks out
Right.
Tyrion. He just doesn't admit it.
When they start saying, "Oh, are there snarks and grumpkins?" No, but there's a moving fucking hand. Here you go. And they're like, "All right."
Okay.
Right.
Except for
but
Joffrey, who just want to shoot it with a crossbow.
well, he's a little prick anyway, but he does get what he wants. Like Tyrion gives him like mockingly like 100 men, right?
He gives him Jaina Slint. Great. Awesome.
Yeah, he gives him the dregs of King's Landing.
But they're people.
Yeah, warm bodies.
Yeah, Jaina Slint's a human too, guys.
So
Yeah,
we're
he's
not
got a
Sort of.
tough life.
Can I also add that Mormont is also pretty whiny because he comes. So Jon was the one who was actually fighting the White, and then Mormont shows up and he's like, "How are you doing?" "Oh, I am miserable because that thing tried to kill me." Never mind that Jon was the one who was actually fighting it, and he's like, "I'm not doing well. Like your hand got injured, you fought that thing, but I had
Yeah.
to grow my beard and it itches and life sucks."
Yeah,
Nobody
Jon is-
changed my
Jon
bed
is
for the last
young,
4
man.
days.
If Jon loses a hand, it'll regrow, just like all young people.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, all right.
So
then.
do you think that actually Gior
Jesus
really have,
Christ.
do you think that Gior really isn't a badass at all and never has been? Because we never heard of him being a badass,
In
really.
this chapter, he isn't because he's like, "Oh no, I was
but
nearby when you fought with the White, and I just watched."
But
Take my dick
is
out.
there
I'm
is there any
sad.
is there any evidence that he's actually like good with a sword or
He's like 70 years old.
no? But
But like
So
in
that
his
he-
youth,
like, did he have prowess in his youth or something? I don't know.
yeah, exactly. Did he do anything of note other than maybe join in the War of the the 9 Penny Kings?
You guys are a really tough audience.
Yeah, I mean, he rules Bear Island. It's like this desolate, like, shit island, and he does a
Yeah.
pretty good job of it for a long time.
But
So
it's
at the very
easy
least,
to
he's
rule
a
an
good lord.
island that's
He's a
barren with a bunch
Mormont.
of
Is
sheep
that
on it.
not enough?
No, it isn't. I mean,
Not Jorah Mormont, he's Jon. So.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah,
I'm
Jorah
just
did a
saying.
good job.
I just get the feeling that he's just, well, he's not that big of a deal really, other than the fact that he's probably the only lord that hasn't committed any crime to join the Night's Watch in like 100 years.
Hooray!
And that's might be just the only.
So you think he's more
skill
like
he has.
he's like an accountant lord? Like he just, he kind of did. He managed the books good, but he kind of didn't do anything like
I
cool.
feel like
mean,
he must be. I feel like he must be a decent warrior. I mean, his daughter's a good warrior. His daughter's a good warrior. His son is a knight. Why wouldn't he be a good warrior?
But maybe if he was
That's
a good
true.
warrior, he wouldn't take this Valyrian steel sword and be like, I don't need this shit, and like put
He
it under
didn't.
his
Well,
I mean, if
Forget
I
about it. You
But
fucking
if I
forgot
want
about it.
kids, if I want my kids to be lawyers and doctors, and I own a business, like selling produce or something, like I just hire people that will teach them. Like
Exactly.
I don't have to be good at that necessarily to teach them that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think if being that they're women are fighters, that makes me think that maybe he took fighting pretty seriously.
Or maybe he
Or
didn't.
maybe his
because
wife
maybe,
took
maybe
fighting
they had
serious?
to become fighters because he was
Perhaps.
useless.
Oh,
And
maybe.
they were like, oh, no one else is doing
Dad's
shit.
such a bitch. You better learn to use his sword.
And then they don't even get the sword. Oh.
Right.
I mean, he honestly didn't even do anything. Like, he's just complaining that his son did disgraceful things. He hadn't done anything to stop it or anything. I mean, he could just as well try to stop his son's dealings.
Well, he wasn't there, right?
He went to the wall.
Yeah, I
he
know.
went to
he's
the
very
wall
at the
before that
I
ever
know he
happened.
went to the wall, but he could have just as easily gotten there before to stop it than Ned. And one might think that.
Well, no, the Night's
Bad
Watch takes the
parenting.
part.
Bad parenting.
He can't leave.
Yeah, like that. Like if he did, I mean, how would that be any different than Jon being like, let's march on Winterfell? Like
No. This is not. This is a completely different thing. He's just going to tell his son to man up and stop doing stuff. It's not like he's deserting. He's just like Benjen is
Yeah,
visiting.
he's just visiting for home and just
Yeah,
Oh,
but
well,
he's
saying,
yeah,
interfering.
yeah.
That
Maybe he'll go
breaches
home
his
and he has
vows.
to talk to his son. I thought you were saying like that, like when Ned was going to get him, didn't get there in time. Like he should have gone first and captured his son or something before Ned got there.
Well, sorted things out in a sense.
Grab him by the ear. You're coming to the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
he could have done that.
Yeah.
Give your sister that sword. Oh no, wait. Give it to me. She doesn't deserve it.
Yeah, I
Do
don't
you
even
think-
want it. Put it in the closet.
Do you think that Ned would have given him the opportunity to join the Night's Watch, or he just would have taken his head?
He would have let him join.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's
So
always
I don't
fun.
think he had
Anyone can
anything to
join.
worry about. There was no need for him to get involved and like potentially forsake his vows.
Well,
No.
but he still have that pretty little blonde wife that he didn't want to leave.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. So, well,
You guys are harsh on him.
yeah. Well, I don't know. I
Captain
mean,
just makes me very angry.
He's just a solid lord. He's like 55 and is like
Like
honorably
70.
yeah. Well, no, but like when he left to join the Night's Watch.
Oh, okay.
do you have any
Dude.
proof that he's a solid lord and that he does anything good?
Bear Island wasn't a shithole before he left, and it
Well,
was after
what do you-
he
yeah,
took
he
over.
what do you
just did-
mean?
He just did a job.
What do you mean? The Hightower girl, she thought it literally was a shithole.
Well, that's because she was used to nicer things, though.
Yeah,
But
He's a
everyone
lot-
was fed. Like everything was mostly good. Like they
Yeah,
weren't,
I mean,
weren't having
Jo-
to rob and slave and.
I mean, he raised all those pretty awesome kids who are like
He
badass.
had them raised by capable households.
Yeah, exactly. There's no proof that he's actually a good father, a good lord, or anything. I'm just
Well,
saying.
But there's no proof to the contrary.
Yeah,
No, I'm
exactly.
just saying. Now that you start
You
thinking
could
about
say
it,
this
you
about
actually
so
have-
many different characters in the books. Then
Yeah, no, absolutely, you can. No one's.
Yes, you
nothing's
can,
saying.
but the point is still
Everyone
that you.
sucks.
Yeah,
Alan
like,
Reed is the biggest asshole in all the books.
Probably. You don't know that. He probably is.
He's an
but George
absentee
doesn't have
father.
time to like go into it. So I feel like because there's a lack of anything said, he's you kind of see that he's a bit gruff, but he's assumed to be a solid guy.
Yeah,
'cause
yeah, I
what
think
we
we're
have to
being
go
a
by
bit
is
harsh.
how he runs the watch.
Yeah.
And how he treats
And-
Jon, and how he that's how we have to assume he was as a father and a ruler of Bear Island.
But didn't that end in a
So-
catastrophe? Just asking.
Did what end in a catastrophe?
Every-
yeah, but
because
it's
because
he
because
know
the
what he was up against.
magical ice.
He's been whatever he has whatever's happened. It's because he's been inactive. He's sending people out to die. They go missing, most of them, all the time. And then the only reason he actually decides to go out is when he's actually attacked by one of these guys, these whites. then he decides to gather the Night's Watch, all of them, and essentially it ends in a bloodbath where he dies in a mutiny. So I'm just pointing out that it might not be like the best rule of the Night's Watch ever.
Well, you gotta look at what the Night's Watch is comprised of. Like 4 knights, and like the rest are rapists and thieves, and various criminals. And I think he did a fine job. And I think that he sent out the Rangers because he needed to know what the fuck was going on. And because they were kept on getting killed, he's like, oh well, now we got to go out there because we know what's killing them. And shit turned south. But I don't think that's his fault.
What could he have done differently?
Exactly.
He could have done nothing, and it would have been awful too.
I agree that maybe he sent out too large a force, to the fist of the first men. But it's exactly that. What else he had to know? He was losing all these men with this information and dying, so he had to keep sending guys out.
You think the problem was that it was too large?
Well, because
because of the losses.
I'd say if you're sending out some of your best men, if they come up against wildlings or White Walkers, or I'm sorry, not White Walkers, fuck me, the others or whites, and your best guys are dying, then yeah, you're just throwing, pissing in the wind, kind of.
I guess. I mean, I just would have thought that, like, well, let's get everyone we have, let's get all of our best men and go. That's your best shot, I don't know.
But 300
you
men,
couldn't have too many, I would
I mean,
think.
he must know that 300 men isn't going to beat whatever's out there, wildlings or otherwise,
I like the pissing in the wind analogy for for fighting the others and then coming back as whites. I think that's brilliant.
I mean, if he'd have sent out, say, a strong ranging party, send out 50 men, 5 come back, and you get your information. It's better than sending 300 out and fucking up
and dying.
And dying, yeah.
Yeah, I guess maybe because he brought so many of the untrustworthy men that you couldn't control them. But then if he leaves them at Castle Black, yeah,
Did
I don't know.
Get back through the gates.
I don't
think
mutiny was on his mind. Much the same that Ned lets Littlefinger completely go under his radar. He's not geared in that sort of sense. So I think he just, maybe arrogance or something, he just completely missed it.
Well, I think he believes people have more honor than they actually do.
Yeah,
it was only like 10 guys. It's only like 10 guys that turned on him, though.
Well, because there was only 10 left.
After shit went way bad.
And yeah, those people all stayed away from the battle. They weren't. No,
it was before shit went way bad. Because they were planning on like killing him and deserting before the whites showed up, and then the whites showed up, and then they killed them when they got back.
Yeah. Chet was it John hears Chet talking or Sam hears Chet talking?
John hears Chet talking and decides not to tell Mormont about it because it's. Yeah, I think he pulls it off to oh, they're just cold and miserable. They'll say shit like that.
Because Jon sucks.
All right.
Yeah, I suppose the only comment I want to make as we leave this chapter is that I think that the Lord Commander gets a little bit of a bad rap. We don't necessarily see him being this wise ruler of Bear Island or this great sword swinger, but George R. R. Martin has this agenda to show the reality and nastiness of war. He doesn't really have an agenda for filling his chapters with people just sitting very mildly ruling well with not much happening. So I guess, it's kind of like counterfactual. Like you've got to start off assuming people are decent until proven otherwise, because he's more than happy to do that. But let's give the guy a break. Plus, of course, they're all going to be whiny. It's fracking freezing. Matt Varley was cold for one weekend and was so whiny on Skype. These people have been that cold for years at the wall, and they've had no sex and probably very little booze.
What the fuck?
So it's like Varley times. Varley had to endure that for an hour. So.
It was cold as shit.
For an hour. And you were inside with central heating and Netflix and booze.
And blankets.
So, sympathy for the Night's Watch is all I'm saying.
Not for mine.
And none for me. Yeah, thanks.
I have sympathy for you, but I'm just glad it's warmed up now, because that was just tedious shit.
Matt,
okay.
Did you get the license plate on that bus she just threw you under?
Nope.
Okay, so on to Adam and Cat 9. which I believe is we're just going back one chapter, so again very close.
Yeah. Cat 9, also known as the chapter where Catelyn dooms the kingdom. No, it's not her fault. I'm just kidding. It's mostly Rob's fault.
It is her fault.
Yeah,
But I mean, like,
It is not.
what happens
We can talk
here
about it
is-
after. We can talk.
Yeah, what happens here is not unreasonable. So, let's see. They're moving south, and they meet up at the Twins. Finally, Cat makes note that Rob is a lot like his father. He's making time with all the men. He's not showing favoritism. He's really kind of building this coalition and making sure that everyone's kind of loyal to him, except for Roose, who he doesn't really seem to keep a close enough eye on. But anyway, let's see, what else do we find out? Anything important? Not really. We get a little bit of news of what's going on with the Lannisters. And we hear that Lord Walder has locked himself inside the Twins with all of his men, like the little bitch that he is, to just kind of play wait and see. And they're stuck between a rock and a hard place because, of course, the Twins, they need to cross in order to do what they got to do. And the only way to get past the Twins is either to take it, which will probably be a shitstorm, or to siege it, which they need to be on the other side. And if half of them were on the other side anyway, they wouldn't need to be crossing at the Twins. So basically, this toll booth collector has them over a barrel and wants Rob to come in and have dinner, and everything's going to be cool and it's totally safe, and no one fucking thinks that's a good idea, least of all Roose, who's like, that guy's shady, and this is coming from the shadiest guy in the north, so he knows what's going on. Like, there should have been a passage where like, and even Roose knew, like, but yeah. So they borderline piss off Sir Steveron by being like, fuck this guy. Like, they're talking about his father and how shitty the Freys are, like, right in front of him, and he's kind of not taking it well, obviously, until Cat actually, has the sense to be like, I have a plan, I'll go and save the situation before, we just have to declare war right here because everyone's being idiots. So that's actually something she does that is positive. And then we get how disgusting Lord Frey is and all of his grandchildren and children and many wives, and how much he loves having himself fresh brides every few years, it seems. And he gets real pissed off at Catelyn's dad. You get really pissed off at Tywin. I actually get the feeling that he's more pissed off at Tywin, like, because of how he was treated, and that's probably the largest motivation for, like, he sort of wanted to do this anyway. He was just sort of like, fuck the Lannisters, but he wanted to get as much as he could out of it. So they come up with a plan, and Catelyn negotiates like the wet paper bag that she is, and gives away everything. We get, let's see, she's fostering 2 children. Arya has to marry a Frey. Rob has to marry a Frey. Rob gets a squire, which actually turns out to be really awesome. It's like the best part of this deal. And that's basically it. The Freys get all of this in exchange for allowing an army to walk like 100 yards, basically.
Oh, and they give them their army too, though.
Yeah, well, yeah.
He gets like 4,000 Freys, right?
But I mean, that he gets almost 4,000 Freys. They leave a couple hundred behind, and Rob leaves a couple hundred behind to help secure the Twins, which is kind of a good move. But I mean, this is the poison pill, eventually.
No, Rob poisons himself, man.
No, I mean, like, this could have been a good move. Like, this was the right move at the time, but
I think
this
is
I don't know.
one of
Catelyn
Cat's
gave
best
up.
chapter.
I think Cat gave up a lot.
way more than she needed to. But she just was like, I need these negotiations to take 10 minutes, and I'm out. And
Did she though?
Lord Frey is just like, I'll just ask for whatever. Like, I'm surprised he didn't
What
ask
was
for,
the time
half
pressure?
the gold of Winterfell.
Why couldn't she have
Tywin
said...
was coming behind them.
I know, but not like 10 minutes away. Why couldn't she have said
It's
to...
Ned.
She just didn't want
Yeah,
to spend
because they
more
had to
time
make it
with
to
Frey.
King's Landing.
Why couldn't she have just said to Walder Frey, what are your terms that you want right now? Let me go and talk to Rob and see what he thinks, and I'll get back to you. Like do a proper parley with some back and forth. It's bizarre to me.
Well, they were kind of running short on time, right? They wanted to split their forces quickly and get to Riverrun as fast
Yeah,
as
yeah, yeah,
possible
yeah.
before
But
Jaime
like
finds
5
out.
hours rather than 5 minutes is not
Yeah.
going to kill you here.
Well, see, but I think Rob was already prepared that he might have to make like a marriage pact or something. But I'm just wondering if she could have done like without arranging Arya's marriage as well.
Well,
Would,
why
Arya's
does Arya
marriage-
matter?
Or
have been
just
enough?
Arya's marriage.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
is Arya's marriage should have been enough. Like
Yeah.
given, and this is where we clearly see how bad Cat is at this. He
Yeah.
wants to marry up. That's the point. And
Yeah,
but
exactly.
if you
And
look at how political marriages are done in Westeros, like he's not like this. Just doesn't make any sense. Like the great houses don't marry each other like we see a lot. Like at the rebellion and kind of like afterwards, we see these huge marriages between great houses. They tend to marry kind of lords within their own land and everything. So it's not unreasonable to think that a Frey could go to Riverrun or something. But he's taking someone who is making a claim, as they're basically. I mean, this is civil war, right? And so he's picking a whole side. He's taking someone who rules almost half the kingdom and saying like, well, you have to marry just one of my random daughters, and because I own a bridge. Like it's very overreaching. Now I get why he wants it. It's his pride and everything. But if you look at the way the marriages are done, it doesn't like the value isn't there compared to most of the normal political marriages we see. So to be like, okay, Rob has to marry someone, like that's way more than there should. Oh, plus Arya's marrying someone? Like under normal circumstances, like it would probably just have been like, oh, Arya or Sansa or something, and then we're good.
I
Right.
think Arya was probably Catelyn throwing that in. She's like, well, okay, but you have to take Arya too.
Oh.
Yeah, Arya was offered up.
She's like, finally, I
Because
married
Cat
that
is
bitch off.
horrible.
no,
Cat would
but
be
seriously,
shit
this
at
is Lord Frey is taking sides against the king, against Tywin Lannister. That's not a small thing.
Right,
Yeah,
he's
you're right.
actually
Like a
committing
rebel.
treason right now. He's
Yeah.
killing himself if they lose.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, they do lose
But-
initially.
But why is anyone
But his-
surprised? He makes it very clear from the moment we meet him that he believes he's had serial insults, and to the point where even when Kat makes the deal, she thinks in the back of her head he's so aggrieved he probably won't stick to this, and Rob's really going to have to monitor this guy and check that he holds up his end of the bargain.
Yeah,
And so my question really to you guys is, we give Rob a lot of heat for marrying, and he should never have married Jane Westerling. But the point is, was Walder going to break this treaty anyway and go in
Don't
with the
think so.
Lannisters?
If
Because I
it was in
actually,
his benefit.
Yeah, when it
Yeah.
suited him.
because
Right.
this is my big takeaway from this reread. I've always been incredibly harsh on Rob, and I think that's right. But reading this chapter closely, I thought Walder is very explicit about how pissed off he is. And to think that you were ever going to, like, whatever you were going to throw at this, she could have married off every kid to a Frey, and he was still not going to hold to it. It's gone
think
too
he would
far.
have.
I think he would have held to it if things worked out well enough.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're winning the war, of course he holds to it. But I
Yeah.
think because even in this chapter, if you read it, like he really doesn't like the Lannisters. Like,
And they're
he-
winning
like,
the war.
Yeah, yeah.
I
And
mean-
see, at the point where he
Yeah.
betrays Rob has already lost the North.
No, but Rob was
No.
winning.
Oh,
Rob was
yeah, yeah,
winning.
yeah.
He betrayed Rob
But
because
had
he
lost the
married someone
North.
else.
I mean, he didn't have Winterfell, which
He
was
had-
like
the
Everything
issue,
was his though.
the issue with the betrayal is that Rob was turning around.
Yeah.
Rob was like, "Well, I'll have to come back and help out later," and he's like, "Well, now I'm gonna be the Riverlands are already turned to shit, and now the largest army's leaving."
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
But I definitely, yeah. If there was any inkling that it was in his favor, I think of course he was always going to betray them.
Yeah.
I mean, and we see with Edmure, even once a marriage is done, right? Like, that marriage went through. That's a legitimate marriage, and now he's got what he always wanted, right? They were married to the heir of, well, nothing now, but it's.
The other thing I wanted to say is that Walder basically, although in his perverse sense, he's kind of quite honest, because he just tells her openly his grievances, and he tells her very openly that he thinks she's tactically in a very weak position. And he says, when she kind of accuses him almost of not going to help Edmure out, she's like, "Is it my fault that your brother was so incompetent he lost before I could even get my host to march?" Now, of course, he was probably delaying, but there is some honesty to that, isn't there? Like, why would you go to a position where this guy is an idiot and is going to lose? And then, like he has this line where he says, "Your husband's in some traitor's cell under the Red Keep. Your father's sick, might be dying, and Jaime Lannister's got your brother in chains." I mean, it's a completely clear-minded depiction of her weakness. So he's right to drive a hard bargain. I kind of
Edmure's the worst.
have respect for Walder Frey, actually, in a bizarre way.
Yeah,
My
he's got
first
balls.
reading, I didn't even hate Walder Frey. I kind of felt bad for him. and then but it didn't come till later that the Frey hate really came through. But like after Robb died.
Red wedding, yeah.
That whole wedding thing.
I was like, wow, I guess the Freys aren't such good people. But it's like I think Catelyn made a decent deal here. She got what they needed, and really, Robb's the Lord of Winterfell. But who cares who he marries to at this point? Like, he's not a king yet. Like they haven't made him king in the North. He's just the Lord of Winterfell.
He's not.
He's actually not yet because Ned's not dead yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he is the heir. Like, it would have made more sense to offer up one of the younger children, but I mean that wouldn't have been acceptable. He wanted the person who was there leading the army.
Well,
So
Sansa's already.
We get it, but
Sansa's already betrothed. Whether they would still stick to that or not, probably not.
Yeah.
Arya's the next, and then Brandon's a cripple, and Rickon's too young.
Yeah, and he wants his grandson to be a great lord.
Why is Rickon too young though? Because they can make.
they can.
Really, they wouldn't be able to get married now, but they could arrange.
But
for,
I think he's too young because they want it. They do want this to be like secured soon. Which I'm almost surprised that he didn't insist on like, hey, pick one now and take her with you.
Like, I just need to get rid of a daughter.
It would have solved some problems. It's like, all right, I'm gonna line them up as you walk through the castle, and you pick the one you like, or pick a few, and it's like The Bachelor. They'll come with you, and then you decide.
Yeah, and Robb might still be alive if that had
Whoever
happened.
gets a rose is good.
Yeah, that's right.
A blue rose.
The
Better
blue
if he
rose.
had. Better if he had, because then he wouldn't have had to fall into the arms of this stranger lady. He would have had his wife right there to cut.
Yeah,
like,
and he actually has some hot Frey daughters who seem like
Edmure gets
decent
one.
people. Like like this could have worked out.
Well, I think if Cat had been a better negotiator, he would have definitely accepted Edmure's hand instead of Robert, for sure.
But she can't negotiate on Edmure's behalf.
She's doing it on her son's behalf and her daughter's.
I think she could. I think she could in that situation.
Definitely, he's in prison in chains. So to
her
release
father's
it,
the Lord of Riverrun. Edmure is the heir. She's just someone who used to live at Riverrun. Like she has
Yeah,
no.
exactly. Catelyn is not exactly in touch with her family, right? She didn't even know how sick Lord Hoster was, right? She can't possibly know if Edmure has a bride in mind or not.
Well, he doesn't because he goes out whoring, right?
I guess she could have, the black.
Well, yes.
That doesn't really mean anything, does it?
I don't know. He's still young enough to have those things kind of decided for him.
But just
in
not
an
by
extreme situation.
But she could have offered it, and she could have been like, "Well, I can go outside and check with him quickly before we."
That's my point. I think it's why not? It's just basic negotiation.
Yeah.
She's almost like an advocate or a lawyer. You take the deal to your people, and then give them the response thereafter.
Yeah, that's just it. There's no back and forth here. Like
her loins are aching for Ned. She has to hurry this shit up.
She's remembering how he used to dry himself in the windows.
Theon's right there.
Oh God.
Oh my God.
God.
You guys.
This is the chapter where the feathered hat theory came from, right?
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Because they're shooting down all the birds. I think we've talked about this on a previous reread.
Right.
So do you want to just quickly, Matt, recap the feathered hat theory and podcast of Ice and Fire and where it comes from?
Oi.
Shouldn't have said it if you didn't want to go there.
At some point, at like 5 or 6 years ago, when they were podcasting, they read this chapter, and I think it was Amin came up with the feathered hat theory, where Theon's been they've been shooting down all the ravens, leaving the twins, and what is it? He says something like, well, soon we'll have enough feathers to make you a feathered hat out of them. And Amin thought Theon would have taken Cat as a lover or something. I don't know.
Like whores wear feathered hats or something like that.
Yeah. So, yep. That's where that came from.
Yeah, good one.
Where does the whores wear feathered hats come from?
Because whores wear feathered hats. Have you never been to a whore?
Go to Molestown. Feathered hats everywhere.
She's never been to a classic.
Bina, have you never been to Molestown?
Bina?
She's done with us.
This is also the chapter where there's all this stuff about the fostering, and that Cat gets really confused because they're talking about who Sweet Robin was going to be fostered to.
Yeah, that's a bit of the bombshell, right?
Because she thought it was going to be with Stannis on Dragonstone.
I don't think this is a bombshell, though, because Yes, it was going to be with Stannis when Jon Arryn was still alive, but after he died, it was the king that was going to give him to Tywin, right?
Yeah.
It's the confusion and like the fact that people are so certain, right?
Right.
Like everyone
is
was
this
so sure of what was happening.
Is this like?
See, what happened was,
Sorry, go
okay,
ahead,
so
Nadia.
Lysa told Kat that Jon Arryn was going to take away Sweet Robin from her and send him to foster with Lord Tywin, when in fact he'd been sending him to Lord Stannis. It was only after Jon Arryn died that Robert decided to send him to Lord Tywin, right? But Lysa lied. I think Lysa was the one who lied to Kat and said Jon Arryn was sending him to Castle Rock.
Oh, okay.
I have no
think
idea, but I feel like this is like one of the storylines, like the dagger, that just like got lost along the way. Like he was going to build this up into something bigger, but it never really happened.
I mean, it sort of comes back a little bit in Storm of Swords, doesn't it? Because that's when you realise that this is what tipped Lysa into having Jon murdered. But yeah, it does get a little bit lost along the way. It was just interesting to me that with all this like super important stuff about alliances, there's quite a bit of space spent on, oh my goodness, that's what was going to happen. That's a bit weird. So it just feels weird in retrospect.
So these are the chapters where we actually see Catelyn do any parenting whatsoever. Do we think she's a good parent here? Like when she's at like the other chapters, usually her kids aren't around. So these are some of the few chapters where she's around her son. Like, do you guys think she's a good parent? Like when she chastises him for being childish and like actually gives him some decent advice along the way.
But is she actually being a parent or a wartime conciliary? Sorry, Nadia.
Right.
Whatever she's doing it badly.
Oh, I don't think
Correct.
so.
I don't know.
I think
She
she does
doesn't-
well in this chapter.
Yeah, she doesn't do it in front of the men. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think
when
she's always very careful to chastise Rob when he's, alone with her, or she never says anything negative in front of his bannermen. She makes sure that nobody's overhearing them.
That's the least she
I
can
think
do.
she does. I think she does really well. She handles Rob really well.
Yeah, I mean, I think like she saves this whole situation. Like in the first
Rob
place,
was too hot-headed.
everyone is like, hey, go in and talk to, come in and talk to my father, and everyone's like, fuck that off, late Frey, oh fuck the Frey Frey's a piece of junk, and like he's just sitting there like, I'm about to turn around and we're gonna start shooting arrows, But when Kat's like, can I handle this? And she allows them to cross. It's just I don't think she does a good job negotiating personally.
Yeah, but in this one situation, she gives away probably one of the most valuable bargaining chips. Because she gave Tyrion away, she's got one thing really, which is Rob's hand.
Well, I mean, how valuable? I mean,
She didn't give Tyrion
Yeah.
away either.
I feel like
Her
Yeah,
sister
all right,
did.
all right.
I feel like marrying Rob like later would be more valuable to the peace than the war effort.
Well, exactly.
Except
So,
for like right here
I mean,
when
that's-
you absolutely need it. But
That's how a lot of these pieces are, achieved, is with a marriage pact.
yeah, because like whoever's pissed off at the end, you marry him to maybe he marries like a Tyrell or he and then that sort of settles. some
Robert's
people
dead,
from the
marry
south,
Cersei.
But oh gosh,
But think
and then
about
Rob
what
will
she
be dead.
think about what she accomplished though. Like she got the Frey swords, she got their crossing, and now Tywin can't cross there. And also, like Tywin doesn't get those swords. You know what I mean? Like that's another castle behind you that someone can take. I mean, I think
true.
it's
Yeah,
a
but-
good thing they did.
But why would Tywin want Frey swords? Like he's warring like south of
He
them.
gets 'em later.
Like, the Freys could have stayed out of it.
No, but
Right, so-
like the Riverlands are everyone's battlefield. That's that's
Right.
everyone's playground, and the crossing is very important, especially since he's facing the north. Like to be able to cross up there quickly and have that held securely for him, since he doesn't have Moat Catelyn, or he's not going to have anything really in the neck. Like the twins would be your best bet if you're in a Riverlands war with a Northern army, because you can stop
plus-
supplies and shit.
Yeah, plus Walder Frey has a lot of money, right? He's rich. And he's probably the richest guy in that area.
No,
I think White Harbor.
That's weird though, right? It's weird that he's rich. Like we know he's rich because he always gets his price and shit, and he's got this really great toll bridge, which makes sense. But
Probably
like
just really frugal.
well, because the twins were like a really
How can
shitty
you be-
set of wooden forts, and then they've upgraded them to kind of a really plain, shitty set of stone towers. Like they're fortified and stuff, but they're not opulent. So where's all the money going? He clearly doesn't just give it to his heirs, his offspring.
He's got a lot of kids.
Yeah, he's got a lot.
Yeah,
of
he
kids.
has a lot of kids.
Just,
No, but he's
just
like, but
feeding
they're
them.
always feeding. He keeps them at arm's length. They're always kind of feeding off the teat.
No,
he doesn't just
He
give them
takes
money
care
and
of his
shit.
family.
He marries
He
them
is-
off and stuff, but he doesn't pay for them.
Sorry, no, I didn't catch what you just said.
He takes care of his family. I mean, I think it's in Feast where we see Anonymous Frey in that the prologue chapter, and he talks about when
Meryl, I think.
Merit.
Yeah,
That's it.
Merit.
The ransom.
When Walder Frey dies, whoever's the heir and that branch, because you got to remember he's got like 6 wives over the years or something, so they're kind of all factions within the Frey family. And when Walder dies, they're gonna kind of be like a civil war, I guess, in the Frey.
They're
house.
just gonna kick a bunch of people out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically, that's what he was worried about. This Merit guy.
But
He
when
has
you
like
think
21 sons.
But when you think about that, though, like 21 sons, that's just like, well, that's one less house guard I need. That's one less person on my, my council. Or like he makes them work. He has them do stuff. Like he's feeding
Yeah,
them
of
and
course.
stuff, but he's
Yeah,
not giving
no
them
doubt.
like estates. That's my point. Is like there should like with all the money he has, you should be like, oh yeah, there are Frey lands. Oh, there's another keep over here that's Frey. There's another you don't hear about much of that. That's all I'm saying.
Well, you don't actually necessarily have lands because you're rich. I mean, in this situation, you have like fiefdoms, which is controlled by lords, and lords just don't give their lands up unless they, unless it's through war or something. So he might just only own the twins. The twins and what a little land around the twins, and not have enough to give out to all of his children. Plus.
Right.
I mean, one of the things he does is actually, he manages a marriage to a Lannister, which must mean that he has paid a lot of money for that to work, essentially.
Well, Tywin's dad was an idiot, so that's why that happened.
And he would do that.
It must be that just whatever land he has up there just isn't very good, and like if he had land, he's like, if I had Harrenhal, I could just rebuild the thing, but he just doesn't have any land to build on. That's what you're saying?
Yeah. It's essentially he doesn't necessarily have a lot of land or a lot of good land to build on. So essentially, you would think because him and his family started off as being like merchant lords, they would just have that bridge and whatever little land around it. Not very much.
Yeah, and you can't really build up. I mean, there's no town there. You can't really build up around that because strategically, your whole point is that you can't lose shit when people come. If they try to siege you, it's like you're all inside. So.
Yep.
Also, I just wanted to say about marriage being saving a marriage for peacetime. Kat's own marriage and Lysa's were both part of like a wartime treaty, right? Because Ned and Jon Arryn needed swords, so Lord Hoster would not give them to them unless they married the two sisters.
Right,
Yeah,
it's the same thing.
Yeah, but here my point was
exactly.
that
So Kat is just passing on what she knows.
But my point
That
is
was
just there was
between
no
great
one else to convert. Like he wasn't gonna like marry marry them to like a Baratheon or someone from the Reach or somewhere, and then like all of a sudden get those people into their cause.
Well,
Like,
they
there was
said,
no
he should have
marriage
married
to be made.
Tyrell. Like they said about Robb, if he'd only fell into the Tyrell girl's arms.
Yeah.
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 In that same vein of thought, what do you guys think about if he? I mean, whether he's successful or not, I don't know. But if he married Asher Greyjoy,
Oh boy.
and
Wow.
brought Baelon back.
I don't think
She would have
that
eaten him
ever
alive.
happened.
Well, if the Iron Islanders were a completely different type of people, and they could have been like brought on through marriage, like geographically, like the armies, ships, that would all make a lot of sense.
Well, but
because they are Islanders, no.
I mean, when he sent Theon, it's what he was going for, but he didn't really offer enough. He'd kind of given away his best bargaining chip here, or Cat had given it away.
Do you really think that offering anything to Baelon would have been enough? Because Baelon wants to take.
If it was a good enough offer, I mean, what did he even offer him? He just said, "Join me, and I'll give you."
No, he offered him a kingship of the
Yeah.
Iron Islands.
And well, he was like, we're gonna take, we're gonna like basically take down the Lannisters, and I think the implication was like, hey, we'll share those spoils, bro. You can have some of that shit.
Yeah, but that's not
And-
enough. He could have just said that to Walder Frey, but
Well, the problem was he was gonna give them to him.
Yeah, that's my point. It's
Balon,
it's,
you can't say you can't give. He
Yeah.
has to take it.
like
Okay.
how would you even propose something to Balon like how like that he would accept? Like I don't even understand. Because you'd
Well,
say, we're
guess
going
it's-
to take this together, and you take what you take, and I take what I take, okay? Like, I don't know.
I guess I'm not advising this as a plan of action. I'm more just thinking if it came off, what would it have been? I mean, it could have worked if.
Oh, that would have been huge, right?
Yeah, surely.
I think the Tyrells would have been better because they bring the red wines anyway.
Yeah.
But the
I guess,
Tyrells would be
yeah.
besieged on like all sides, right?
Well, the Tyrells were with Renly at this point. I mean, Marjorie and Renly are like married by the time Cat gets down there. So
Yeah.
surely they're already together, and it's not an option.
Well, yeah. Don't misunderstand me. I love me some Greyjoys, but I just can't I can't picture it with the current management they have right now.
The reader, maybe.
Yeah, maybe he put it in a good word, but it wouldn't have made any
Well-
difference for Balon.
No.
Mm.
This chapter is also when Robb leaves Roose in charge of his second army, which was a mistake.
But very hard for him to have
Big
known that
time.
at the time. Of all his mistakes, I think this is the most forgivable. Like
Yeah.
Jane
Oh, yeah.
Westerling, he knew he was doing something wrong. Was this like, how can he possibly know?
Okay.
Well, he
so-
never trusts him from the beginning.
Yeah, and we talked about this, I think, on the last record, didn't we? But I think Roose is the right choice. So
Yes,
the
he's not a bad choice.
the
Yes.
shadiest guy in the north clearly sees the shadiest guy in the Riverlands. Like, he's if it wasn't opportune, like for the whole red wedding and everything, like Roose probably would have stayed loyal and
Yeah,
a,
I
lot,
think-
a lot different. But
Yeah, you don't know when and where the decision was made for a lot of the treacheries that happened in the books. I mean, yes, you have an idea, especially when one of the chapters where Bran finds out that that the Frey kids are not getting married to Arya anymore and stuff like that. You get a feeling that the decision has just been made and it's in the travel, but you don't have a specific time and date. Nobody tells you this is when they do this. And right now, Roose might not be the most trustworthy character ever, but he's definitely not a traitor yet.
yeah,
wonder if-
I mean, like
I wonder if
Strawpoll.
Sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, does anyone really think that, like, at this point, Roose is like, I'm looking for a way to become Warden of the North, like, right here?
No, I think it just shows that the lines of communication are open, and they're maybe not friends or anything, but they're talking and they've had some time together.
Hmm.
So it's sort of the very very early beginnings of it.
Well,
Tanya,
I
would
think,
you like to say something? What is this,
Tanya?
AFK?
Away
Is it
from
like-
keyboard?
Oh, I don't know if it was like out of fucking commission, but with a K. Anyway,
What the
wonder
fuck
when-
is going on?
nothing. I wonder if George even knew that Roose was gonna do all this treachery at this point.
Oh,
I
interesting.
think he had to.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Would he have?
Yeah, wouldn't he have had the red wedding planned like ages ago from the very
Well,
start?
Not
Well,
necessarily.
But
Yeah,
He
that's
says
the
he
point,
kind of likes to
though.
plant seeds and let them grow.
There
No,
are
but-
so many characters. Like,
But he said he wanted this to be a trilogy, so he knew the Red Wedding would have to happen, right?
Maybe. I mean, that
Was
happened in the
there?
third
You
book,
would've.
so
Is the Red Wedding, was that planned in the trilogy though? Because didn't we at some point get his outline for the trilogy?
well, that
A
was
while
like
ago.
before the first book was written, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, all right, okay. Yeah.
So by the time he's gotten to writing this and he's most of the way done, like, how is he's formulated lots of different thoughts. But what do we think? How much do we get from Roose as to like how bad Roose is in this book? Like, does it cover the Boltons much at all? I don't really remember.
No.
it just says
I
he's
think you
shady.
could-
He has cold eyes.
Yeah, you
Right.
could
Yeah.
easily not notice them in the first book, I feel.
And it's
Yeah.
like a lot of characters, I think, like there are a lot of characters that just drop off from these early books, and other characters I think, but I think like Roose or Dantas or other characters he put in there because he was like, maybe I need a person later for a thing.
I was
Maybe
sorry, I was
he
just
had,
thinking
like, a
about the
general
show.
idea. Oh,
Characters just disappear.
Gendry's still on that boat.
He's rowing
but,
around
like-
somewhere.
Did he have Ramsay in his mind at this point, or was that something that just came out of nowhere? Do you know what I mean? Like, they haven't mentioned Roose Bolton has a bastard or anything yet.
Yeah, you have to believe that was a later invention. Like he's
Well,
not that
they
good.
do when Bran's seeing people because of the whole Hornwood dispute.
Right.
But that hasn't happened yet.
And
'cause
the
the Hornwoods aren't even dead yet.
No, but isn't that
No,
in this
but-
book? Surely.
No, isn't that Clash?
Oh,
I think
maybe.
it might be
No.
Clash.
Oh,
Maybe.
is it?
I'm pretty sure that's Clash. Like we'll find out here in a bit, but
Because
like
the
we don't.
Hornwoods die like in this chapter or the next
Yeah.
cat chapter.
In my chapter, one Hornwood dies, but
It's that
I'm
both
pretty
Hornwoods
sure-
die.
But I don't think we really get hardly anything of Bran and like too many goings on in the north for the rest of this book.
Oh.
I mean, there's one more Bran chapter.
Right, and the Hornwoods die. One dies in Tyrion's chapter, and the other one dies in the other cat chapter.
Yeah. Well, I'm my only reason why I think he might already have an idea about the story and who he might put in the roles of baddies in the north is because he wrote the first 2 or 3 books pretty close to each other. I mean, he had he was pretty fast about those 2 or 3. And then it started to slow down a lot afterwards.
oh my god. For sure.
So my point is just that if it was so close to each other, his releases, one might think that he might have had some chapters over from last, or whatever. So that I mean, it could be that he already written some chapters and knew a little about it.
I
It'd be
believe
interesting. Sorry.
I believe
go
he
ahead.
had it. I believe he had it planned that Roose was going to be a bad guy at some point. I'm just curious as to when that. It might to me. It might not even have happened yet in his head, but it might have. I'm not saying it didn't. Just I'm curious to wonder. I'm curious as to whether he did or not have it in his head at this point.
I'd really like for Martin to, in 20 years, when all the books are released, to just tell us when he when he decided certain things and when he came up with.
Well, in 20 years,
ideas
it better
and
be a
when he
kid of
added.
his, because he'd be very
Yeah.
old.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe someone can publish the unfinished tales of Song of Ice and Fire or something.
Christopher Martin.
Yeah.
I would just love a quick interview and just some insights in his writing process, even just
Yeah.
hey, when you were writing Game of Thrones or Clash, or this character's introduced, did you stop and go, this character, he's from this house, and maybe 10 chapters down the line, I want him doing this, or I want how much did he put into it, or were some of these things just names? He just built names and places and houses, and then filled them in later with character and words and what their substance was. 10 chapters later.
It could be cool that you could do a companion book with commentary and page for page, so you say, okay, so we're at this chapter with this, and he'll do a Tower of a Hand summary of what's in it, and then comment on whatever. That could be actually something I would want on my.
No, we want
shelf.
wins first.
Well,
No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
But
I
this is
love
when
how we're
all the
talking
books
in
are out,
30
all the books
years
are
after all the books are out,
Yeah.
he needs to resell
30
us
years
the whole
when
series.
he's mid-90s.
When he's aiming.
Yeah. No, but the history of Middle Earth kind of style thing, that would be really cool. I would read that
Annotated. And all.
in many years.
So I think the next chapter in the linear reread, we jump over Jon 8 and Dany 7 to Tyrion 8.
Wow. Okay. Tyrion 8. Tyrion arrives late for dinner with Tywin and his commanders. Lord Leo Leffert, in charge of supplies, questions the use of arming Tyrion's clansmen. Sir Kevin states that Tywin wants to place them in the vanguard under Sir Gregor. Tyrion is not pleased, but sees no choice. He loses his appetite and leaves. He returns to his tent, where his new servants, a groom, a body servant, and his squire Podrick Payne, have just finished eating. Bronn is also waiting with a camp follower named Shay. Tyrion had sent Bronn to bring him a lightly whore, which Bronn then in turn took by force from another knight. He takes Shay into his tent. She has a smart mouth, which Tyrion likes. I'm sure he does.
Shay the funny whore.
Sure, Shay the funny whore with a very smart mouth. He tells her that she will be his servant and companion for as long as he has use of her, and will take no other men while in his service. She agrees, and they have sex. They have the sex, which Tyrion realizes he has missed greatly. Yep. Early the next morning, trumpets sound, and as the men are called from the ranks for battle, he sends Podrick scurrying to get his armor, which ends up being a mismatched armor that doesn't really fit him at all. Bronn rides up and reports that the Stark army marches through the night and is now forming battle lines. He as said, he dons that mismatched armor, and it's because his personal armor, which I actually don't believe exists. When has he ever really used a functional armor? I don't know. Was left back at Castle Rock and rides off to join his men. Sir Kevin commands the center of the army, consisting largely of foot. Sir Adam Marbrand has the right with the main horse, and Tyrion's on the left with Commander Gregor the Mountain. Lord Tywin commands the reserves, as he always does. Gregor positions Tyrion on the far left of the line. The left is composed by ill-disciplined free riders, hedge knights, with little infantry support. The Stark army advances, and Gregor orders a charge. The battle becomes a personal struggle. Tyrion kills one knight, causes the other one to yield, and then takes a wound to the right arm before the battle moves past him. Kevin brings up the center to support Tywin and brings the reserve crashing through the Stark line, breaking it. With the battle over, Tyrion gathers his men. Shagga was wounded but survives. Jella and Timett are unharmed, and Con and Ulf are dead. In all, about half of the 300 clansmen survived. Tyrion goes to find his father, furious because he knows now that he was placed on the left to die. Tywin confirms that the left was supposed to collapse and draw the Stark army in so that Kevin could flank them. Sir Marbrand rides up and reports that several battle commanders have been captured, including Major Servan, Willis Manderley, Harry and Karstark, and 4 Freys. Other than that, Lord Harless Hornwood was killed. He also report that Robb was not a part of the army and has moved on River Run with his horse. Yeah. So essentially, to sum it up, Tyrion gets butt fucked, and essentially karma goes around and fucks with Tywin in the end.
Half man.
That was brilliant. That was a brilliant summary.
Beautiful summary.
Yeah.
Does anybody think it's weird that when Tywin says when soldiers lack discipline, the fault lies with their commander? Yeah, he really doesn't control Gregor. He kind of unleashes him.
Yeah, he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So.
But he also doesn't he's not trying to control Gregor. He's
Right,
not
Yeah.
that's what
He
he
unleashes him.
wants.
He doesn't control him. He unleashes him.
So he's like, yeah, the fault's with me. What of it? You want to fight?
Also Gregor is disposable, right?
Yeah.
Gregor is
Disposable?
disposable, completely disposable. If Gregor were to die at some point while in battle or whatever, would it matter?
He's not a great commander. He's just a tool to be used.
He can't be replaced, really. There's not that many other mountains that ride, so...
No, of course he's one of a kind in one sense, but
Tyrion doesn't, or Tywin doesn't care.
Exactly. Whatever he when he sends Gregor out is essentially on side missions that supports his main mission, but has no real strategic sense. Yes, he can hold Harrenhal, whatever, but it's essentially he's just there to create chaos.
He's a tool.
He's a weapon, not an asset.
He's more like a rabbit.
He
dog.
sure is a tool.
Who would be if Gregor was gone? Who would have been the new muscle?
I think he would just use his men. Gregor's
just
men.
one at a time, just whoever.
Strongbow.
The next one to step up. You're in charge now. Go create havoc over there.
Shit mouth.
I mean, of course, Gregor is like a great symbol of terror and whatever. But if he wasn't there, he could definitely make a band of people that would fill the same role of terrorizing people and making life horrible for the Riverlands.
He's a good champion to have.
Yeah, I mean, and the chance of that guy who is like Gregor is like really experienced with horse and lance and whatever. The chance of him like dying is like really slim. I mean, you have to be poisoned by some
Right.
guy before he actually dies.
And then he doesn't even die.
Not-
Right.
not really.
Well, the fact that his horse dies underneath him and he just stands up untouched and just starts laying waste to people, I mean, he's a hard guy to kill.
Yeah,
I mean, like Braun said, you go near that guy because he's going to draw all the arrows. Well, he draws all the arrows and he still walks away.
They deflect off of him and then like land in you and you die.
Oh, and anyway, Braun does a pretty shitty job of protecting Tyrion.
yeah.
That's true.
Well, he has to protect himself, which
Yeah,
is what
he was like
he
surrounded by
does
3
anyway.
guys.
And it's not very far into their relationship either. I mean, right now Tyrion is probably just literally his money bag, his money ticket.
That's all he is the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, later on, one imagines that this starts to build a rapport.
I think they already have. It's been a while at this point.
A few weeks.
Yeah.
Well, no, because he met with up at the
They s-
in at the crossroads, and they've been chummy ever since.
Ah, okay. Maybe.
But I don't think it matters because we still see later on when it comes down to it, what does Braun do?
Walks away.
Yep.
Bangs Lady Stokeworth.
Can I ask a
And-
sort of semi-nitpicky question? You know, we know that Tyrion has like done this whole saddle for Bran, and that he has to have a special saddle to ride a normal horse. How come he's riding a horse in this battle? Where did he suddenly find the
Get a
saddle?
saddle.
Yes, I was
built
wondering.
Whiteraven.
Well, he has legs. Bran doesn't have legs.
Yeah, but he still needs, like, he can't control normal stirrups, right?
Well, would Tywin have brought one of them with him?
Just in case, I bring you a proper saddle but no armor that fits
Yeah,
you.
not his armor.
I think it's just an oversight, but it's a
Or maybe
plan.
he can just make a saddle out of
Never
a
thought of
regular
that.
saddle.
He's like the A-team. Just give
Well, he
him
also
like
has
a
a
chainsaw.
short sword at his hip, which would probably drag on the ground as he's walking. So
Well, I feel like the saddles, he would have a number of them. Like, they would already be in Castle Rock. They'd already be... So it could have easily been something that someone in the party would remember to bring because they're hoping to get Tyrion back. But armor? Like, I don't know.
they just mismatch his armor. But as far as the saddle goes, maybe it's not that hard to make one.
Yeah, I feel like it's...
And to booby trap it.
Yeah.
And to all those like me who have an issue with the show's not to blame for anything because this is Shay's opening line. My mother named me Shay. Men call me often. I mean, is that the worst line in the book? It's so weak.
It's a sales pitch for a whore. I mean, come
It's
on.
a bad, and at this point, Tyrion's thinking, she's so witty.
Is she wearing a feathered hat?
She's
She
not
better
wearing
be.
much, just a
Yeah.
shift.
So she hasn't been classically trained.
I noticed that Tyrion didn't see any Bolton banners, and that's who's
He-
leading this host.
But I think he'd maybe expect them, but noticing the Frey ones is like, oh, they've joined. Okay.
Yeah, but he
Well,
never said Boltons. He listed everybody else, but he never said Bolton.
But they know
yeah,
Isn't that the theory that
that's the
like,
point.
Bolton was trying to drain the north
Yeah,
of his...
bleed off the
of their-
forces.
Oh, yeah.
Or well, at the very least, I think Bolton was protecting his interests.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. I'm just
And this
saying that already here, they're already having the Boltons are holding their troops back while putting like the Karstarks in front.
But
But I thought the
but
plan
he-
here was
yeah.
was partially to do that anyway.
yeah, exactly. Well, the plan
this
was
was a
to
feint.
sacrifice that army to...
Yes, but Roose didn't put his men out there.
No,
yeah,
but
exactly,
if,
because
if
Roose knew
you,
the plan.
would the Great John, would anyone else really do that if their job was just to be like send a few men in to buy some time and then run away? Would you send your men or would you send one of the
I think
hosts that was
the
sent
Grey
with
John would have been in the front line. That's why they didn't send him.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Well,
Great John
yeah,
would have
okay, that's a
taken all
bad
of his
example.
men and try to storm them.
Great John would be dead. He would have been like, you know what? Fuck this. Everyone attack. We can win.
So yeah.
So I was curious if like say Robb couldn't get across the river and they had to go back and fight Tywin for whatever reason. Do you think he would have fell into this trap, like the whole Tywin trap, or do you think he would have been smart enough to stay out of it?
Is it a Tywin trap?
Oh,
I
you
thought
mean
it was-
trap,
you
overloading
mean
the left side.
the collapsing flank
Yeah.
maneuver.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I think because he would have been cut off, then he would have to like attack with whatever he had, and he would have been forced to play into that. Unless he did something with like the Whispering Wood or whatever, like snaked in and set fire to the camps or whatever and whatever before. But yeah, if they had to do like a battle, he would be caught off, so he couldn't have moved most of his army ahead and then just attack with a little foot.
It would depend on, I think, if Roose was there and he listened to him or something, or someone else who had good battle knowledge, because at this point he hasn't even been in a battle yet.
Right.
Yeah, but at some point you just have to fight, right? And if you're cut off and you need to, the thing you need to do to consolidate your power in the Riverlands is to free the river run, then you need to take that stupid battle if you're cut off. I mean, that's just how it is. So they might have tried to do something as a counter move, but I think essentially they would have been stuck with the only option of attacking and then being pincer moved within a collapsing flank.
Well, I hope he would have been smart enough to find some ground and have Tywin come to him, but yeah, either way.
Well, doesn't the start of this chapter start with him saying that Tywin had found a hill that he
Tywin was on a hill and he was like,
yeah, exactly. So
he was with the reserves on the hill. But what I'm saying is that's because they were already encamped there.
Exactly.
And then the Starks marched on them. If it was Robb, if Robb had to fight them, I think he would have chose ground and then fortified that area.
No, but you see, the problem is if Robb needs to go to River Run, he can't choose the ground, and Tywin knows it. Tywin can just stand in between Robb's army and River Run and stop their progression. I mean,
well, he can't get to River Run. That's why he has to cross the bridge.
exactly.
What I'm saying is, once he can't cross the bridge, he knows he can't go to River Run. Does he just find a place and say, "Well, this is where we'll meet Tywin"?
No,
or
but
does he like run at him like an idiot?
So do you think that if he couldn't go that way, that he would have just abandoned River Run?
Well, if Tywin's army is going to catch you anyway, you might as well try to find a place where the ground would benefit your army rather than trying to run and get caught in the back. Do you know what I mean?
I'm not sure it would have gone down that way. I mean, I'm pretty sure Tywin would have had all the cards on his hand, like all the aces, and would have chosen the battlefield and whatever, and it would have gone really badly. So, in like retrospect, I think it's not that bad of a deal that Catelyn made.
There we go.
Because they made that.
Back to this.
No,
it all comes around.
Just because it's like it mainly just changes the situation of how the battle actually ended up being.
Without crossing here, they lose the war here.
They might have.
But since they cross here, they get Jaime and everything works out for the short term.
How old are the twins? How long have they been there?
Jaime and Cersei?
It's been at least I think at least 100. I think it's 200 years thereabouts.
If it's so damn
600
profitable,
years.
like how come no one
600 years.
how come no one
years?
just went a little bit further
Yep.
down and built another bridge? Like how come that never happened?
That's a good question. Maybe the Freys went and destroyed all those bridges. No, I don't know.
Also, you have to own the land on which to build the castles, right? So even downstream, perhaps the Freys own the lands.
Well, that's
Well, then they would have
Because-
lots of land, yeah.
Because George didn't write it that way.
Yeah.
oh,
yes.
okay.
Maybe
guess.
it's the soil simply.
Or
it's
the
the best
rivers are
place to-
too wide in other places.
No, I
Yeah.
think there are other points, like when the river isn't flowing so high, you can ford the river in plenty of places, but
Yeah.
it's just that the river is running so high that only the bridge is,
Right, this time of year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. They make their money in having a secure way of transporting your goods from south to north or vice versa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, because I guess there's probably
And I
like
think-
ferries and stuff, but a whole army needs a bridge.
Because
Exactly.
everybody knows
Right.
the water's the highest in the fall. No.
Right. In
The
winter,
10
you could
years of
just walk over the river. It's no problem.
Yeah, they just waited for a while. No.
I mean, I suppose another question is, given how this is the only crossing, how strategically important it is, why didn't anyone try and marry into the Freys before? I mean, they're a pretty horrible family, but wouldn't it have been prudent for all the other families to, sacrifice an Arya-type younger daughter or
The
whatever,
Lannisters did.
just to keep them
Yeah,
sweet?
the Lannisters did.
Yeah, well, and which I guess
Huh.
shows some foresight there.
And he was still upset.
And they still the Lannisters didn't like the Freys, and the Freys really didn't like the Lannisters, but Tywin still made that happen.
Yeah.
And I think
Okay.
all of Walder Frey's wives have been like
Esther Monts and stuff.
quite highborn. Yeah.
No, lesser,
Yeah.
I'd say.
Yeah, but if they were highborn, they were definitely not the first born, it was definitely second born. So that's the problem. He's never
females
gotten
don't
like
matter.
he never gotten like the prize pig or whatever. House.
But you know
I
what?
don't think
Past
Jesus
Frey's,
Christ.
past
Like
phase,
what- like
Frey's
what
probably did
missionaries?
better.
I don't know as if it matters what order the women are. Like, just because she's the oldest woman really doesn't mean anything.
Yes,
Yeah, I don't suppose it
Just-
makes a difference, does it?
it does make a difference if all the men dies, all the male heirs
Right,
die.
okay, I guess.
Yeah. I mean,
Or if there is no claim.
Sansa becomes so valuable once it's like, well, she's the only one with the claim. But
Yeah, no,
the only
that's
one
true.
left that they all
Yeah.
kept alive.
right. But before then, like, I mean, there was value. Like, obviously, you would marry your oldest daughter to the king because, oldest daughter, he's going to be the king. That makes sense. But had it been Arya or something, it probably wouldn't have been a huge difference. If, let's say, Sansa was already married and they were like, well, we'll just marry Arya instead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if I hate to go back to that cat thing, but if they'd defended from the twins, maybe it would have been worth it. Used his castle or something like that.
I think there was too many people in Tywin's army.
Yeah, how
Well,
many
so-
men does he have?
They both
Tywin
have
has a lot.
is it 10 or 15 or something like that? And Rob's got maybe around 20.
What,
No, I
what?
think Rob's outnumbered.
Yeah,
Rob is outnumbered when he goes after Jamie's army.
Right.
See,
He's
I thought it was in
outnumbered 3 to
total
1.
he was outnumbered.
The what?
I thought it was in total that he was outnumbered.
No, I think Jamie's
Uh,
army's bigger than his because it's a good thing it's split into 3 pieces.
yeah. I think I remember that as well. That Tywin and Jamie has a larger army in total, but when it's split up, it's even still formidable in itself. So the problem would still be that I just can't see why Tywin why Tywin move his army on the twins. I mean, right now Tywin doesn't have a specific reason to try to take the north, and Rob is the person that needs to advance. Tywin just needs to make sure that they don't advance quickly enough.
Well, no, Tywin's plan is to eliminate Rob quickly and then deal with Stannis. Sure, I think he
Right.
says that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still, if you bog him down in like burning down the Riverlands and whatever, making it hard for him to advance at all, you would still buy yourself enough time for either going attrition in the war or whatever. It's just the thing is, right now Rob has the clear need to advance, while Tywin essentially just needs to stop him from advancing. The best thing would of course be to stop Rob completely and like quench his army, but right now it's just he could be satisfied with just stopping Rob from advancing anywhere.
But he's still got to deal with Stannis. And
Yes.
no one knows what Stannis is when he's gonna attack King's Landing.
Yes, I know, but it's still yeah.
So
You
what I'm
just-
saying is Tywin's plan is to lure Rob down. That's why he knows if he sits at Moat Cailin, he's never going to face Tywin, which maybe would have been the smarter thing to do. But
So do you think that the way to lure Rob would to lay siege on the twins?
no. Sorry. I was merely stating that if Rob used the twins as a strategic base, then it would have been worth the price that he paid. But if
Oh, you're saying like if he had stayed at the twins and said, "Hey, we'll march down if you don't give Ned back" or something. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, you use the castle as opposed to meeting him in open, facing two armies that he
Oh,
is likely not to beat in the field.
that wouldn't have
But
worked.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Well, it's supplies, and Tywin would never have come up there, and meanwhile
Yeah.
River Run, everything else gets taken over while you're sitting there.
Yeah.
I mean, if
Have to make-
they were trying to bargain, if they thought that they were going to be able to bargain their way to get Ned back, and because he's got to deal with Robert's brothers, like there might have been a diplomatic solution here. I mean, and then of course when Ned gets his head chopped off, that's out the window.
Well,
yeah, exactly. I think that right now Tywin is just trying to deal with stuff without he has no interest in like crushing the Starks. I mean, yes, if he has to, he'll do it. But essentially, he knows that right now he has Stark's daughters and he has Ned. So he has a lot of things on his side that he could use to negotiate a peace. He just needs to, stall long enough so that Rob stops, needs to negotiate a peace or something.
He only
So-
thinks he has Ned.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so Tywin's real problem is not controlling fucking Joffrey, and I mean, I guess not Cersei because she was going along with it seems, but his real problem is he should have gone to King's Landing right away or something and made sure that shit was taken care of. Because
Yep.
even like why even like Ned shouldn't have even really been on trial. Like they should have just kept him in the cells until they were ready to do whatever the fuck they were gonna do.
Till the hand got there.
Yeah, and then just like keep him in the cells. I'll be there, and I will deal with the trial. And then at that point, he can say, "Yeah, we're gonna trade him back. We're keeping the girls, or you're gonna take the black, or like if they say, well, hey, help us against Stannis, and like that's probably where Tywin's head should have been at, but it seems like it wasn't.
Well, he
Yeah.
underestimated Rob. I mean, that was it, really. Thought
He
he'd
under
out quickly and move on.
Yeah, it's
Well,
a really
he
bad judge of
overest-
character.
He
Really
overestimated Cersei.
I don't think he did.
He
I
did.
think-
He overestimated her ability to control her son.
Yeah,
But
true.
but he seems to correctly estimate the Baratheon brothers. He knows that they've got they're gonna have a huge army to deal with. Like either way, like they're the bigger threat, really, because they're pressing their claim. Like they want to march into King's Landing, whereas the whole Northern cause is about one person. It's not about the kingdom, at least at this point.
Right.
Okay, so who is finally getting us to the chapter of the whispering word?
that would be
No,
Mark.
Varley on
That'd
the
be me.
forums.
So Varley, basically this is a consecutive chapter. So
Yep.
over to you.
Even though it's a Catelyn chapter,
Woo!
I think it's maybe one of the most descriptive chapters that he writes in this book. So here we go. The woods were full of whispers.
Are you just reading out the chapter?
No.
Just read the whole
No.
chapter. Just read the whole chapter.
Really?
No.
Should I?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
I've heard you read,
Absolutely
Matt.
not.
No.
That's fair.
Jesus.
So,
Oh, that's so sad.
It's the same
well,
this way.
we're illiterate.
That's why
been
we
well
podcast.
discussed.
Are you ready, Matt?
Yep, let's do this.
Are you sure?
So this chapter
you sure?
is a mix of description of battle and Catelyn being completely selfish. She expounds knowledge of it will come when it comes, which is fucking brilliant.
Oh my.
She remembers her days at River Run and waiting for her father. While he warred in the South, and which I thought was like, that's kind of weird. Like, I thought the South was like Dorne, but whatever. Brendan Blackfish said the Kingslayer is reckless and quick to anger, and I don't know how he knows that. Catelyn hopes that Rob grows to be taller. Let him know 16, let him know 20, let him know 50, and that will never happen.
Aww.
Oh.
Yeah. They actually got like a weird group of people together. Hedge knights and small lords and masterless men at arms who had fled north when River Run was taken. Rob's like, I have to give my men courage, so I'll ride out in front of her. And Kat's like, but who will give me courage? Because she's selfish like that. One of his companions was even a woman, Daisy Mormont, Lady Mage's eldest daughter and heir to Bear Island, a lanky 6-footer who had been given a morning star at an age when most girls had been given dolls.
But not the sword.
Right. She says that Hal Mullen states the obvious, even though she's stating the obvious. What else do we have? Oh, again, Brendan knows so much about about Jaime Lannister. He is no man for sitting in a tent while his carpenters build siege towers. He has ridden out with his knights thrice already to chase down raiders from stubborn holdfast. And then George starts doing these italicized here's, which are awesome.
Yes.
Here.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Here was a hush in the night, moonlight and shadows, a thick carpet of dead leaves underfoot, densely wooded ridges sloping gently down to the stream bed and underbrush thinning as the ground fell away. Here was her son on his stallion, glancing back at her one last time and lifting his sword in salute. Here was the call of Mage Mormont's warhorn, a long low blast that rolled down the valley from the east to tell them that the last of Jaime's riders had entered the trap. The horns blew vengeance, which I thought was fucking cool. Men shouted curses and begged for mercy and got it, or not, and lived, or died. Hold on.
not.
Yeah. Was there only one wolf? It was hard to be certain. Was Nymeria in this? I don't think so, but
No. Just Grey Wind, but he was
Right.
doing enough damage for several wolves, is what she's saying, I think.
right.
Slash damage.
Or Rob's men all turned into wolves.
So
Just ask the Lannisters, that's what happened.
right. So the fight goes on, and they drag Jaime Lannister, and Hal announced it unnecessarily that it was the Kingslayer. I just imagine him having a smirk where it's like, it's not your sword I want, sir. She told him, give me my father and my brother, give me my daughters, give me my lord husband. I have mislaid them as well, I fear. A pity, Catelyn said coldly. Kill him, Rob, Theon Greyjoy urged. Take his head off. No. He's more used to us alive than dead, and my lord father never condoned the murder of prisoners after a battle. A wise man, Jaime Lannister said, and honorable. I just imagine him saying that with a smirk. So they're talking about it, and Theon's like, my lady, the realm has not seen such a victory since the Field of Fire, which I think is the first mention. And then he goes on to say who he took captive, Lord Westerling, which is weird, because down the road, like, father-in-law, and Malor the Dornish man. Why is the Dornishman fighting with the Lannisters? And that's all I got.
He must have been a hedge knight or something. Or sellsword.
Yeah, might be.
Wow, you did a real good job. Nobody even wants to talk.
Yeah, you've exhausted everything.
Perfect.
Can we do like a little bit of a mini style sort of like techie stuff about the fact that the tactics in this battle are exactly the same as the previous battle? And I thought that was kind of cool and symmetric. And
I think Jaime was way too overconfident. He wasn't even wearing a helm.
Well, that's why it's so awesome, because Rob in his first battle sees this. And,
Yeah.
you
Well,
just-
it's more Brendan than Rob, I think.
Well,
I think if it
sorry.
No, Brendan definitely like was feeding Rob like all the information.
Yeah, I think Brendan was like a really, really big deal this early on.
absolutely, he's the secret behind Rob's success. But Nadia, do we want to just give a public service announcement about helmets?
Oh yes, there's this Jaime not wearing a helmet in this one, and then Jorah not wearing one in the next one, and they both almost get killed, and it's just
Helmet.
Well, it's written
Is it-
into isn't it written into Jamie's contract that he has to show his face for so long books?
What, just to keep the ladies
On
of
the
Westeros
show.
happy?
Yeah, I mean, he is a looker, right?
On the
I think
show?
it's just about, in this chapter at least, it's just about Jaime's arrogance. He's so sure of himself. He
Well,
doesn't
he
think
just
anyone's
thinks
gonna attack him.
He just
Yeah.
thinks it's outriders that they're going out to attack. He doesn't know they're
Right,
attacking the whole
exactly.
strength of the North.
I wonder if it's even arrogance rather than just he's very devil may care. Like, you know, his behavior is quite nihilistic in this book. Like, he can chuck Bran out of a window. He wants to just be with Cersei, even if it means, you know, basically just giving up everything. I just think he doesn't care for his own safety in a certain way.
Tax Ned.
Yeah, I don't know. He's a danger to himself and everyone around him.
His arrogance is so justified, though. I mean, isn't it later in a Theon chapter he thinks of this battle and how close he came to being killed by Jaime because he was just cutting down everyone.
Yeah, he killed everybody around him.
Yeah,
Yeah, including the two Karstark kids that
Yeah.
will haunt the whole northern
And the other Hornwood.
evangelator. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys talk about how, like, the Lord Commander, we never see evidence that he's a badass, but here, Jamie, even when he knows he's lost, sort of is like sort of still desperately struggling and clambering up the hill just to take down as many people with him.
Well,
I think it's
and
really
he calls
admirable.
out Rob's name. He's like, "Come fight me, bitch!" And
Yeah, exactly. I think it's really awesome and badass.
Yeah, definitely.
So
the horn, like the way he describes everything, like the moonlight shining through the trees, like the horns going off one by one, like it's just an amazing chapter, despite it being a cat chapter.
Yes,
This
and
is
specifically because we don't actually see any of the battle itself,
Right.
but it's still so, I don't know, haunting in a way.
is this one of the chapters that everyone fell in love with the Starks in, or certainly Rob anyway?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just such-
Things are going well.
Yeah, I know.
It's so weird, like coming back through these chapters later on. You're like, yeah.
I know, right? Yeah. Oh,
So,
Any mention of Daisy Mormont makes me happy.
agree.
Yeah. Yeah, she was like 6 foot tall.
Yeah.
And like
Forgot about that.
was like wielding a morning star. It's like, that is a badass chick. Like she's ready to go. And she was like insisting that she defended Rob, which means that either
And
she
people weren't too happy about that, but then Kat was like, yeah, saving my son is more important than your pride.
right.
See, in my personal headcanon, Daisy Mormont is so boss that the Lord Commander offered her the ancestral sword, and she was like, "Keep it, bitch! I've got my morning star."
Yeah, I can get on board with that.
yeah.
Like
I'll
I'm
melt it
rocking
down and
this
make a
thing.
morning star.
Yeah, I don't need some like ancestral blade that's all pretty but doesn't do as much damage as I can already do. Whatevs. Don't slow me down, Grandpa.
But does she get killed in the Red Wedding, or is that Mage?
Yes, she does. Unfortunately, she gets an axe to her stomach.
Which is so sad.
Oh, I thought she got her head cut off.
No,
Who
no,
got
she
their
got an
head
axe
cut
to the
off at the-
stomach. I can't.
Well, they might have cut all of their heads off
afterwards.
Afterwards, yeah.
Not the
Except
great
for
No,
God.
but someone got their head
She
cut
wanted
off at the
she
wedding.
wanted to dance with this person. She wanted to dance with one of the Freys. And I think she went and tapped him on the shoulder, and then he turned around and he was acting all weird. And then suddenly all these people came in wearing male armor and carrying swords and everything. And she started to run away, but then one of them hit her with an axe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Wait a minute. Who's the Mormont with Asha now?
Mage.
No,
That's Alison Mormont.
Mage. Oh, okay, that's
Alison
Mage.
Oh,
Mormont,
Alison.
that's Stacey's.
Oh, Allison. Oh, yeah.
She's the next oldest sister.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. So another question. You talked about Varley that how does Brendan know about Jamie? Could it be that Brendan participated in the dispute with the King's Brotherhood, the Kingswood Brotherhood?
Yeah, but
Well, I know-
he wasn't even a
He
knight
wasn't
then.
there.
No,
He got
was-
knighted.
Brendan's
Like,
one of
or
Jamie's idols.
Jamie, yeah, like Jamie says, like Brendan was one of his idols, and Jamie has not like led a force or fought a war since.
When
What-
Jamie goes
So
to
I don't understand.
when Jamie goes to River Run to meet Lysa, because they're going to try to marry him to him, all he does is sit around and talk to Brendan the whole time.
Right,
That
right, but like Brendan,
So that's how
doesn't
they know
what
each
kind of-
other.
but he doesn't know what kind of battle command is.
Oh,
I
because
think he
he's
does.
never.
You know what it could be? It could be the Iron Islands, the Greater Rebellion. They would both be able to participate there, especially.
Yeah,
and,
but-
and Jamie would be pissed because the Lannister fleet would be burned to the ground. So, I
But
guess,
he was a Kingsguard, so
yeah,
like,
and they
Rob
their
and
commander-
Ned led the command.
But I
Oh,
think
oh.
once you get an idea of the way a person thinks, just by talking to them, you kind of get an idea of how they react to a battle. Because I'm sure what they rehashed was talking about battles and stuff, because that's what Jamie was interested in. They weren't talking about how hot his sister was.
Yeah, but it was too long ago.
Maybe they were.
I don't think it was too
Or
long
maybe
ago.
both.
No, because Brendan would have had no interest in Catelyn.
Yeah.
Say, how old was Jamie when he met Brendan? He must have been what, 12 or 13?
Well, he was being fostered by at the crate with the crate calls, wasn't he?
Yeah, but he was a squire, like
Yeah, so he
delivering
was
a
quite
message
young. Yeah.
to Hoster Tully.
Was
Yeah.
Brendan with Lysa when they were at King's Landing?
No,
No.
Brendan was the knight of the Bloody
The
Gate.
Gate.
Yeah, so he's probably there.
But he was never there. He never went to King's Landing.
Well,
He
he might
may
have
have
met
been.
Jamie at like some point. He probably, and I don't think Jamie being like very sort of
But,
hot-blooded and all is like secret knowledge. Everyone probably knows that, right? That he's
my
quick to
main
answer,
question
he's quick to react.
is, when did Jaime ever lead anything that would give Brynden the knowledge that he's impulsive and reckless?
They were saying that every time that they started to, he led several attacks against the raiders. Jaime had. They said earlier in the
Raiders?
chapter. They were like raiding their supply
Outriders.
lines.
Oh,
The Outriders were
yeah,
raiding their
okay.
supply lines, and Jaime was leading, like, because he was saying he's not
But-
one who likes to sit still.
But from
Yeah, I mean,
that,
Jamie could have just delegated that, right, to
He
somebody
didn't,
else,
though.
Yeah.
like just go and handle these Outriders, but he kept riding out himself.
Because
Well,
he doesn't like to sit still.
maybe Rob weighed it up and thought he'd rather face Jaime in battle than Tywin, because he's more likely to capture Jaime, who will be in the thick of it.
well, no, I think like what Brynden gave him was like, okay, so they have three. They surrounded River Run, but there's 3 separate camps. So if we can draw out their main host, we can really fuck them up, and they don't have River Run anymore. And River Run will actually came out to help them.
Yeah.
Right.
Your point?
Look at me. I'm all smart and shit.
Oh, that's the bumper right there.
Okay, but
Matt, I don't know what you were getting at there.
no, exactly. I don't think you really got to your point, Wally.
Well, no, that it's surrounded by 3 points, and they managed to massacre the main host. So River Run was no longer surrounded, and they won it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it was a great plan.
Yes.
Well, they haven't actually won it yet. At the end of this chapter, they go like, we won like one third of this.
Right, we still need to
have
take
like
River
thirds
Run.
of-
Yeah, but they have Jaime Lannister, so that's a bargain piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still gonna happen. Hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, but when you hold Jaime Lannister as hostage, you have a massive piece to like have every army withdraw, just so you know.
Well, yeah, they'll be
Yeah.
disheartened.
You mean like hide
Right.
behind him and just be like, if you don't withdraw, I'm gonna kill him.
Right.
Mm.
Like Edmure Tully was on the
But they don't. They kill him. They attack.
well, they don't do either.
No, they attack them.
Huh?
Should
They attack the people that are besieging River Run.
should Rob have killed him here?
I think we should wait for the next chapter for that.
Yeah. Maybe. Okay, and
Yeah.
another thing, I just picked up that you were thinking about when the first mention of the Field of Fire was.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually in like 50 chapters before, like in Tyrion 2. They talked about how the first time both Vhagar, Meraxes, and Balerion was all unleashed on the same time. Then the singers called it the Field of Fire. So,
Well, thanks, Patrick. You make me look like an idiot. Thank you.
You're so not smart.
You're welcome.
I'm not.
That's my
smart.
job, essentially.
But Theon, comparing that to this, I
Yeah,
think you're
he's so
getting a little
full of
heavy
shit.
there.
Okay, so any more on the epic Battle of Whispering Wood?
Just how all the like spears were apparently hidden under leaves and like came up and like looked like willows, and the description of the battle is just fucking great. That's all I have.
Good.
Agreed.
Yep.
Oh, and they didn't just get Jaime Lannister, right? They got like 3 other Lannisters too.
3 other Lannisters,
two
a
Freys and a
Westerling,
Lannister.
which like I underlined Lord Westerling, and I was like, all right, that's great. That's gonna be his father-in-law. Like, I don't understand how the hostage exchanges worked after that, but whatever.
Well, he
Yeah,
married his daughter and then was like, cool, bro.
Well, I think they actually sieged the castle.
Well, yeah, of course. Killed loads of his men and then married his daughter.
Mm-mm.
As
Well, after he banged away at her.
Yeah, like
He
you
didn't
do.
even get her pregnant. Come on, Rob. Wait the
I
9
know,
months
right?
and see.
Do you
Nobody
need-
needs
do you,
to know.
Do you need to wait for 9 months to know if she's pregnant?
I don't know, maybe.
But like, it seems like back in olden days, people knew they were pregnant, even when like nowadays, a lot of us like wouldn't. I mean, you get morning sickness and stuff, and then you usually notice. But it seems like even before then, people are like, "Oh, I'm totally pregnant," and then they end up being pregnant. It's weird.
But that's one of those
Not
confirmation
true.
bias things. Like,
Yeah.
sorry,
I think
Nadia.
before you had like pregnancy tests, you would not know until like you'd skip like at least 2 or 3 periods and had like at least a few other symptoms as well.
You've definitely got time to marry a Frey girl, basically.
No, but I think it's one of those confirmation bias things, right? Like if I say, oh, I bet this call is going to be dropped right now, and it doesn't happen, and everyone's going to forget about it. But if it does happen, then everyone will think,
Everyone's like, you're a genius.
Tanya, you're a prophet.
Yeah.
Miss
Just
Cleo,
like Jon
whatever, you
Snow.
Like
were
John.
Right.
Yeah. Or it could just be that they had sex, and that makes the likelihood that she will get pregnant infinitely bigger.
yeah,
I just thought maybe they were more aware back when they
The
paid
seed is
attention to
strong.
Yeah. No
Rob
radiation.
thinks he's a home
to-
run hitter. All right. Well, Dany, who's got Dany?
I believe this is Nadia. Okay, so this is another consecutive chapter, and it's Nadia for Dany 8.
Yeah, okay. Drogo is swaying on his horse, and Dany comes closer to him, sort of nudges him to wake him up, but he falls off his horse. Drogo's blood riders are terrified because Drogo dying means that they'll be dead too. Anyway, when he falls off his horse, Dany freaks out. She has Irri and Jiki help Drogo into a tent, and she sends Drogo's blood riders to get Mirri Maaz Duur, who she can still save Drogo. But Drogo has not been following any of her orders. He ripped off a bandage type thing that she gave him. And he's also been drinking wine and taking milk of the poppy. Jorah comes to Dany at this point, and he says, and he comes and he sends Dany's handmaidens away, and then he cuts off the mud cake type thing that's on Drogo's chest, and they realize that the wound has festered, and Drogo is basically dying. He's pretty much dead anyway. At this point, Jorah advises Dany that they should run away to Ashai, because as soon as Drogo dies, all of the Khos in Drogo's Khalasar will want to kill the baby, because he's supposed to be the stallion that mounts the world, so he'll be a threat to them. Dany wonders why they would kill a baby, and she said that's basically the same thing that's been happening to you all your life. Mirri Maaz Duur gets to the tent, and she says the same thing, that Drogo is basically dead. Drogo's blood rider Kotho is very angry. He thinks this is Mirri Maaz Duur's fault, and he wants to sort of tie her up and let everyone rape her, but Dany won't let her do that. She sends the blood riders away. Then she tells Jorah to go off and put on his armor, because she thinks, he'll probably have to fight them off. Then she begs Mirri Maaz Duur to save Drogo's life, and Mirri Maaz Duur says the only way to do it is a certain spell. There will be a price for saving his life. Death must pay for life, right? And yet Dany wonders if it's going to be her own, and Mirri Maaz Duur says that it won't be her life. And then she tells them to bring in Drogo's horse, and Dany is very relieved. She thinks it's just a horse, right? She would pay that price 1,000 times over. But anyway, so Dany's blood riders bring in the horse. Mirri Maaz Duur cuts the horse's neck. The blood flows into the tub in which Drogo is lying. And anyway, then she sends everyone out, including Dany, and starts to cast her spell. When Dany comes out, all of the Khalasar is standing there waiting. Some of them are getting on their horses and riding away, but most of them just stand around looking at her accusingly. Jorah comes running and he says, "What have you done?" And as he says this, Mirri Maaz Duur basically starts wailing in a very loud voice. As this starts happening, Drogo's blood riders try to stop it, and they are approaching the tent. And Mirri Maaz Duur had said that nobody can come in, so Dany tells Jorah to kill Kotho. And Jorah, who is wearing his entire armor except his helmet, starts to fight him and eventually manages to kill him. And as all this fighting between Dany's blood riders and Drogo's is happening, Dany feels, that she's going into labor. Basically, Dany realizes that, I think at this point she realizes that the life that Mirri Maaz Duur was talking about was her child's. And basically she starts screaming, and Jorah picks her up. And she tries to tell Jorah not to take her inside the tent, but she can't get the words out, and Jorah just picks her up and walks into the tent, because Mirri Maaz Duur is supposed to be very experienced in childbirth. So, yeah, and that's it.
I have wondered at some point if Jorah carrying Dany into the tent made a difference, and if that made things worse
Yeah, I
somehow.
was wondering the same thing actually. But somehow I don't think a horse's life would have paid for a human's.
Yeah, but maybe maybe Drogo would have been fine. Maybe the kid would have died, and Drogo would have been fine.
No, because I
Maybe.
think Mirri Maz Duur had evil intentions.
But did
Maybe they just
she?
needed
I
a
mean,
bunch of
did
horses.
she have evil intentions from the very beginning? Because I think whatever poultice she gave Drogo in the beginning, Drogo totally sort of disregarded her orders, right? So he was like,
But I kind
and
of thought she was backsliding. Not backsliding. I thought she was being disingenuous, that she'd created this poultice that was going to irritate his wounds
Yeah.
and make them worse and make him die, because she was just vengeful against the people who'd enslaved her. And
Which would make
that
sense.
when he rips it off, and then Dany, she kind of uses that as an excuse to Dany of why her magic hasn't worked. Well, oh, he ripped it off, so of course my healing wasn't going to work. But it was never going to work in the first place. It sounds very much like a sort of a mustard plaster, like something really evil.
So do you think it makes no
well, if
difference?
she,
Do you think it makes no difference that he carried her into the tent?
No, because I don't think it's like about sort of being sort of like specifically inside the tent. I think Mirri Maz Duur had done the black magic deed and was going to always sacrifice Dany's child no matter what. Because the way she says it,
think
it's
so?
so slippery. Yeah, the way she says, you know, it must be paid for with a life, and you can just tell her thinking, I'm equivocating, and you're too dumb and naive, and you know, needing hope to even interrogate me on this point. Because at that point, Jorah, he actually says to, you know, he's normally so in love with Dany and doesn't really ever criticize her, but he actually just says, "You little fool, what have you done?" So even he knows something really fishy's going on.
I'm not sure that Mirri Maz Duur was trying to help them, but I'm also not 100% sure that there wasn't, like, that she wasn't. Because maybe it was. I do think there's a possibility that going into the tent at that point just fucked things up, and it would have been okay otherwise. Maybe. I mean, there would have been some sort of catch to it, but I don't think it would have happened the way it did. Maybe.
Yeah.
So who was the life that would have been sacrificed then?
Why did they kill the horse?
Because that is a life as well. So
Blood.
It just makes me feel like the logic of this magic is a life for a life, like an equivalent life. So I'm not saying that horses don't matter, but that it would have had to have been a human life that would be sacrificed.
The horse could just
Right.
be like part of the ingredients needed, but not necessarily the life force needed.
yeah, no, which also makes sense. But just the point where he carries her into the tent seems significant to me in some way.
yeah, it
I mean,
does.
maybe it isn't, but
I think it might have been it. I don't know. She clearly says that it would not have been Dany's life, right?
yeah.
So I'm assuming she was telling the truth there. But really, can any of us blame Mirri Maz Duur if she does try to kill Drogo?
Absolutely not.
Exactly.
No.
I'm not saying that, but it's just from experience we know that we've gathered that it has to be something equivalent that has to be sacrificed for it to work. I mean,
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
king's blood for miracles and whatever for smaller things. There's a value in the nobility of the blood. So yeah, it seems weak unless it's like how much people value the blood, and being the Khalasar, a horse is just as important as the man. Then it could be for that purpose that it's so valued, a horse, that it still has a purpose, it can
Yeah.
still be used.
Yeah, I don't think it's out of the question that there's like I think it could potentially work. I don't think it's completely ridiculous to think that the horse might have been enough.
But all they got was the husk of a man. They didn't even get a man back. I mean, Beric is better off than this guy. Kat's better off than this guy.
That's true.
Yeah.
But that's different.
So
It's a
but
different magic,
that's-
but it's the same thing. Sorry, Matt. Go ahead.
Right. I mean, you killed the horse, and then you're like, oh, but I also want the unborn child.
Yeah.
Like I
Correct,
just don't get it.
Yeah, correct per theory. She wanted to put the horse's soul into Drogo and make him totally a horseman, but instead he got like a fetus's mind instead, and that's why he's totally
Can
vegetable.
Fetus Mind be the title of this podcast?
Yeah.
episode, please?
Fetus mind.
Sorry, Dany's description of her labor, it felt as if her son had a knife in each hand, as if he were hacking at her to cut his way out. Yeah, sounds basically like a contraction. Yeah.
I don't want to have kids ever.
I think I have some textual proof from maybe the following chapter where when he was talking about what was the horses for. And then Dany says, "You warned me that only death could pay for life. I thought you meant the horse." "No," Mirri Maz Duur said. "That was a lie you told yourself. You knew the price."
Maybe it would have worked then, so maybe if she hadn't come into the tent, Drogo would have been fine. Like, the kid might still have died.
Because when she tells her, she like cradles her belly because she kind of knows. And then
Or maybe what would have happened? Drogo would still have been like zombie person, but Dany would not have lost like her ability to like have children.
also
Right.
she tells her that
But
the
that
baby
also
dying saved people. Like it saved all the people that he would have dominated. So that kind of makes me think she was gonna kill him along.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
probably,
seems
yeah.
to me like the whole plan of her not getting pregnant again was a part of Mirri Maz Duur's evil scheme, because she has this whole description of when Dany will be able to bear children again, and like when the sun rises in the west and whatever.
That's not really right.
Such
She
a
asks
fix.
when she'll have her husband back, and she says when your womb quickens again, when the sun rises,
Oh,
whatever,
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
When
So
the
that's
sun
not.
sets in the east, which has already happened, by the way, according to most people.
Wait, Quentin's alive, right?
Only you think so, Mina.
Oh,
No,
wow.
Yeah.
but what I was
Keep
saying
on.
was her womb quickening again is when Drogo will come back. It's not when she'll have children again. Like
Yeah.
I don't know,
That's
I think people kind of got that backwards at some point.
No,
Okay.
it's not about Drogon. It's when will I bear a living child?
No, it's when will I have him back? And she said when your womb quickens
No,
again.
no. It's about when you bear. Is it? Wait,
Oh,
hold on.
boy.
Let me go to the next chapter.
shocking lack of knowledge.
Shocking lack of knowledge.
So while Nadia's
Thanks.
looking that up, what's the significance of the figures of the Great Wolf and the Man in the Flames? Is that
Reached into-
Stannis?
I don't know.
Hmm.
I have no
does that
idea.
mean that Mirri Maz Duur is somehow involved in some of the bad stuff that happens to the Starks? She can't even know about the Starks, can she, in the Great Wolf? Or is it that when you sort of invoke black magic, that sort of various things happen that you're not fully in control of? I'm very sketchy on the whole kind of the blood magic stuff. Can anyone explain to me the
Well, as a
basic sort
good
of logic of how it works?
Practitioner of magic, I know everything. No, we don't know anything. Like,
I would say maybe the like the Stark wolf maybe comes from something, and that's why they're a wolf, not because like a great wolf, it could have been a dire wolf. And my thought is maybe the Stark sigil is a wolf for a reason, and maybe the reason is whatever these gods or magic is that runs shit in this world. Do you know what I mean?
well,
Okay.
yeah,
so
but
I've done
I
my
mean,
research,
it's
and
the same as
Whiteraven
like
was
any
right.
any other sigil. Like, does that mean that's what they are?
I'm not saying all of them matter, but the Starks are a really old house, and I'm thinking maybe they could have picked that for a reason. That's all. I'm not
Yeah,
saying
but
that's the truth.
It's sort of the Tyrells, and their sigil is a flower.
I don't think the Tyrells are that ancient a house.
They're not first men, so it's different.
You think?
Okay. I'm not saying that's the way it is. I'm just saying that could be one of the ways it is, and that's why this great wolf is symbolizing something, even though Mirri Maz Duur has no idea what's going on in the north. Maybe the great wolf means something more than just the Stark banner, and maybe it's the Stark banner because of the something more that it means. Does that make sense? No?
You should ask Jon Snow.
Yeah.
All he knows.
He would probably not.
Too bad
What
he's
about
dead.
Burning Man? Burning
Yeah, what are the
Well, I
Burning
mean-
Man theories?
I hear Burning Man's a lot of fun.
I was just waiting for that joke.
Well, like the red god would be a burning man, right?
I imagine the Red God as like fire, basically.
Well, it's a burning
Yeah.
man. Right? It's a
I
man
thought it
wreathed
would
in
be
flame.
Stannis. I thought it could
Stannis.
potentially be Stannis.
When Melisandre has her vision, isn't it like there's a wolf in the north, and we all assume it's Bran, like watching everything, and then her god is the fire god. So maybe like behind everything, there's a wolf god and a fire god. Do you know what I mean? Not necessarily. I'm not saying that's the way it is. Just hypothetically throwing it out there because Bina wanted some kind of answer, and this is all I got.
Well,
There's
I
nothing
don't
I've
always get
thought
everything
about
I want, so it's fine.
It's nothing
I
I've really
mean-
thought about before, so I'm just kind of throwing it out there. It's probably not true.
I mean, obviously, they already said that, like, just through the Weirwood network, like, there are gods in the north, or people that are looking through trees or something, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I
we
mean,
don't-
Brandon's
we-
proof of that.
Right. So we have no proof of really any other god, right?
The Red God, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, there's power at least there. That doesn't necessarily mean that there are actually gods behind that.
Well,
like,
what's the
that
weird?
way, like we would think,
It's not power.
but
the whole thing to me is like it's called a Song of Ice and Fire, and you have a man wreathed in flames, and then you have a great wolf, which seems to be very associated with the north and coldness.
What if the man wreathed in flames is Victorian?
Yes.
Nope.
I don't know if George had
No.
Victorian in his head at this point.
Yes, he had, of course, because Victorian is the prince that was promised.
Oh, right.
We discussed
No,
this.
you're wrong.
No, I'm not. I can't.
He's mentioned. He's definitely mentioned by Theon.
Oh,
Yeah.
he is?
No, he's not.
Maybe.
He might be.
First
No,
one,
he definitely
Ian
is because
Ian won.
we know about the Greyjoy rebellion and the fleet, the burning of the Lannister fleet.
Yeah, it's in Theon 1.
We already know about the prince that was promised.
So
So-
Victorian is a prince I was promised.
He is the prince that was promised.
It is known.
I hate it more than R plus L equals D.
Yeah, I think I'm mainly also just holding on to it now because it pisses people off.
No,
I mean, it would be awesome if it was that, but I mean, there's no real evidence, is there?
no.
What, for Victorian?
Yeah, well, other than he's a prince and he's like reborn in salt and smoke and wreathed in flame through his burning arm. So
Oh, other than all the literary evidence.
Yeah. Besides that,
Besides that, yeah. there's-
besides all the things that actually match, it's not really there's not really any evidence, right? Yeah. So yeah, Mirri Maz Duur theories. Do you think she works for someone? Like Preston Jacobs said that she might work for
Preston Jacobs said.
yeah.
We gotta believe it.
I'm not saying that he's right, but sometimes it's interesting to discuss out from his theories and see what makes sense and what doesn't.
I think she's just wrong place, right time.
Ah, sure.
Yeah.
Just happened to be there.
I agree, but I think it started so much earlier with the poultice. Is that what you call it? The mud thing that she puts on him?
The poultice. Oh, fuck. Now I don't even know. Poultice.
Yeah.
Poultice.
Poultice.
That's it.
Poultice.
And I mean, do we ever see anyone else use this as a healing option or a tool that they use to heal people in the rest of the book? I don't know.
No.
Fishy.
But I mean, it was a
Sticks
very
out.
common medical treatment in medieval times, right? They're using poultices of various kinds.
Right. Like,
Well, they made him a-
someone in the story is like, I healed his wound with like bread and mustard seed or something like that. And I was like, what the fuck?
I think the poultice is just what the bandage kind of thing is called. It's what she put in it that made it burn and hurt him that was supposed to cure him. Because his women also made him a poultice.
Yeah.
Did they?
Yeah. Because Jar had to cut it off.
Yeah, I think what I
Boy.
got from that was basically it was like a mud cake thingy, so it stopped like all air going in, so it just perfect
I think-
environment for the wound to start festering.
I think a poultice is just the name of the bandage that they use.
Poultice
The
is,
ba-
I think, more like
Oh.
a herb
Poultice
concoction
would be a good
something
name for a band.
that they put inside the
I'm
bandage.
sure it is the name of it.
Yeah, exactly. You make like a herbal paste.
Yeah.
You put inside
Yeah.
inside a bandage. Then you then apply
like
it to
leak-
the wound.
It like leaks out or something, right? To like help
Yeah,
keep
it's
it
yeah,
fresh or something.
it sterilizes and kind of like draws out whatever's needs to be drawn out usually.
It's like before we had Vaseline or Neosporin or
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah, didn't the Vikings used to use like reduced cow urine to like put on wounds?
I've
I
heard
saw
about
that
it.
in the 13th Warrior, didn't they do that?
I've heard about it, but a lot of those stories are just made up because, well, but I've heard of that as also, but I can't confirm it as fact.
Fair enough.
So Nadia, do you find the passage to prove me wrong?
No,
Yes, I did, and I'm
Oh,
sorry,
boy.
Brett, you're right. It's... Do you want me to read it out?
You can if you want, but I don't know if it's necessary. As long as everybody knows I was right, I
It
think it's
basically says, and Dany's question, when will he be as he was? And she gives the prophecy.
right.
Yeah.
So Brett was
I have to
right.
save the prophecy for the next episode. Yeah.
Say it again. Brett was right, everyone.
No, we're good. We're good. Everybody
right.
knows.
I was wrong.
No.
Anything more on
don't
this
be that way.
chapter? Any more? Does anyone have any weird ass Mirri Maz Duur theories, or should we leave that for a shaggy cast?
She's
I
So-
think that Mirri Maz Duur was
she's
totally
actually Euron.
justified in trying to kill Drogo and ruining Dany's life.
I agree.
Dany's life was just like an offshoot. She was just kind of trying to kill Drogo, and his
But-
baby just fell into her hands.
She's
Yeah.
actually
Also,
Euron.
this is the first time we hear of twisted dragon babies, right?
Yes. But we can also say that Mirri Maz Duur, she's kind of like Gollum. She acts for her own weird reasons, but without her, you wouldn't have
For
had the
precious?
hatching of the dragons,
Yeah, they're
right?
precious.
But that's
They
what I
both
mean. Like,
burn.
I mean,
Yeah,
without
I mean,
her,
she's
with
the
the
strange
dragons, they'd survive.
catalyst, I guess, right?
But
Yeah, that makes the dragons happen.
But also, she was taught by Marwyn, right?
Yep.
Right.
Arwen the Mage.
Oh, I never thought of this. When Marvin gets to Dany, Marvin is on his way to Dany, right?
Yeah.
When he mentions his name, is Dany like gonna burn him with the dragons? Because he taught Mirri Maz Duur?
Maybe. Who knows?
Oh, jeez. Well, if she still
I
has them
never
at
thought
that
of
point,
that.
Right.
he might be like, "I can help you get them back."
And she's like, yeah, you gonna kill him too, you fucker? No, I'll burn this dude. Drogon, Dracarys, boom, on fire. Sorry, man.
That's all you need, Dracarys.
So what's Marwyn gonna do when he gets there? Because Dany won't be there.
Or,
He's
Like,
gonna
well,
look
maybe.
like a fat fuck and be like, "What the fuck is going on?" Because we got the Greyjoys battling everyone, and yeah.
So if like she was taught by Marwyn, did Marwyn issue an order, or was she just vengeful because of her whole village being burned down?
I don't think
Ooh,
Marwen
that's
was gonna-
interesting.
I can't imagine why Marwyn would issue an order like that.
Yeah, kill Daenerys Targaryen. That doesn't make any sense. Or kill
Well,
her first
well,
child.
the
As
whole
if he knew
there
this
is-
woman was ever gonna meet Daenerys.
Well, there is the one theory that all maesters are in agreement that Targaryens are a bad thing, and
He's separate though.
Well,
He's
he's
not with them.
he's not necessarily with them, but he's not.
Yeah, he's
Again.
badass.
Well, he's got a glass candle, so it kind of implies he's more sympathetic to magic, isn't it? I mean,
Or
He's
maybe
tech-
he's just maybe
And
he's-
especially to dragons, I think.
yeah.
Why?
Well, they're the source of
because-
magic or something, aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Once more.
They're the source of magic, aren't they?
Yeah, but he couldn't he just be watching the glass candle to make sure that that dragons aren't coming back, and when the glass candle starts to work again, he's kind of saying, "Oh,
It's a dragon alarm.
a dragon alarm."
Gotta go murder me some dragons.
Yeah. Oh, I gotta get my super suit and go kill the dragons.
Essentially.
No, I think
That would be a
also
good
get an
twist,
illustration
right?
for that.
Well, it says. I mean, his description is kind of warrior-like and bullish, isn't it? So maybe he fought in the Robert's Rebellion for the Targaryens, perhaps.
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, he's described as like a huge, brutish like person, but I don't know if they ever fought for anyone.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I haven't thought about that specifically.
I
but
wish
I'm
he'd
saying-
been described as a small little Krennicman, so we could be like, "That's Howland," and then we could all be settled on it.
Yeah.
But no, he's got to be a bullish man. Fucker.
What's wrong with that?
Oh no, it's just that I can't say he's Howland Reed because Howland Reed's got some magic.
Well, it's a similar description to the elder brother, and obviously we all know what he's gone on to do.
The
Cool.
elder brother.
Yeah, on the Quiet Isle.
Oh,
Oh, all right.
So
Hmm.
I don't know. Maybe he's got a similar past.
perhaps.
Or maybe
Guess-
he's a strong.
Yeah.
Because you know that the younger strong brother also dabbled in. There was rumors at least that he dabbled in magic and was like a spy master and stuff like that. So maybe he is strong, or maybe he's that strong, Harwin strong, or whatever it was called.
Oh boy.
Why would he still be alive? Wasn't that like
Yeah, from 200 years ago.
200 years
Exactly,
ago?
just
Yeah.
like Bloodraven.
Bloodraven's 100 years old, not 200.
Yeah, Bloodraven isn't that old.
It's like kind of Aemon territory.
He's like 130 Bloodraven.
Isn't Melisandre pretty old? Not 200 years old, but she's pretty old.
Yeah, she is.
We don't know. We have no
Super-
idea how old
very
Melisandre
old.
is.
Yeah, we couldn't
I thought I
couldn't
said
say.
some.
I don't understand the Melisandre thing. If someone can explain it to me. She says she's been at this for a long time, and she remembers being sold as Melanie, but
Yes.
someone was like, "Oh, she's like 300 years old and just hot looking from a glamour." I'm like, I don't understand this.
Well, because the ruby or whatever around her neck, like people think like she's the glamour makes her look how she looks, but I don't really know if anything really implies that she's that old.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Right.
Mance wears a similar ruby, and obviously it changes his appearance. So maybe that's where it comes from. They think that he could do the same thing for her.
Oh, but I could totally see if she is older or she looks different and she's made herself attractive to be able to, maybe she's just not attractive and maybe she's just trying
Manipulate
to,
people.
Yeah, like I could see that she has a glamour on her, but there's nothing to suggest how old she is or isn't.
Maybe she's Mirri Maz Duur.
No, boy.
No,
Or
no,
is
she's
she,
Daria.
Cold Hands.
Jesus
Cold
Christ.
hands.
She's Daria.
Or Tom Bombadil.
Yeah, some people do.
Bombadillo.
I think that's probably true.
Oh, that's sad. Is there anything more on this chapter? Well, on that happy note, I'll wrap up this 13th episode of the Linear Song of Ice and Fire reread. Just to let everyone know that we're going to do the next episode, which finishes off Game of Thrones, and then we'll have a break while the next season of Game of Thrones airs, and kick back off with Clash of Kings in the summer. So that's the plan. If you want to get involved in any way, you can follow us at VOK Podcast on Twitter. There's a Vassals of Kingsgrave WordPress page, Facebook page, but the best way to get involved is to sign up to the Podcast of Ice and Fire forums, of whom we are an offshoot, and you can either join in with us or kick off your own subjects to podcast about. So, thank you for listening. I've been Bina007. Thank you to Adam, Patrick, Matt, Nadia, Tanya, Whiteraven, and anyone else? Pop Snower. There you go.
You're welcome.
Bye.